Chapter 975. As a guest, she was only here to attend the funeral. Today, she wore a black dress. This was a sign of respect when attending a funeral. She stood behind Xiao Fei and stared quietly at Guo Zhulian, who was with the Guo family. She looked a little scared, but she was still calm. After all, Xiao Jin was here. She was Guo Jieshi's granddaughter, so she had to stand with her family. Moreover, if Hao Jiuzong saw Xiao Jin and Guo Zhulian together, he would completely understand that Song Yanqing had tricked him. How bad! The funeral scene was solemn and gloomy. Xiao Jin looked at Guo Zicheng's first wife with a faint smile on his lips. Guo Zicheng's first wife was a spiritual psychic. He didn't know what her ability was for the time being, but there was a faint trace of black gas on her body. That was a sign that she would suffer a backlash after killing someone. If a normal spiritual reader were to attack an ordinary person, there would be no way to prevent the backlash from happening. It was just that the backlash would come sooner or later, and the spiritual psychics themselves wouldn't know. So, she killed Guo Jieshi, and Guo Zicheng knew about it. At such a long distance, she couldn't have killed Guo Jieshi from a distance, which meant that the person she killed might not be Guo Jieshi. Her face was quiet, and her appearance was even better than Guo Zicheng's and Guo Zicheng's children. She was a dignified and generous woman. She didn't seem to have any special emotions about the death of her ex-husband's father. Muzilian whispered to Xiao Jin, "I heard something just now. It said that the reason why Uncle Guo's ex-wife divorced him has something to do with Grandpa Guo. It's not the reason why Uncle Guo cheated. Guo Zicheng was a playboy, but in their family, it didn't matter whether he cheated or not. Even if he cheated, he was still Mrs. Guo on the surface. Then what happened that caused the divorce? And Qing Yujun hadn't officially married Guo Zicheng yet." Xiao Jin whispered to Muzilian, "You haven't been here for long like me. Where did you hear about it?" Muzilian, "That's what it's like to have so many brothers." Mu Qizhi turned his head, frowned slightly, and scolded, "This is a special place. Don't whisper. It won't be good if others see." As Muzilian spoke, Mu Xiangshan and the others also turned around and gave Muzilian a warning look. Muzilian pursed his lips and added, "I'll tell you when it's over." At this moment, Xiao Jin noticed that Guo Zicheng's ex-wife seemed to have inadvertently brushed past Guo Zhulian. They shouldn't have anything to do with each other. The moment they brushed past each other, Guo Zicheng's ex-wife said something in a very low voice. It was so low that no one could hear it except for Guo Zhulian. Xiao Jin had activated the array formation because of Guo Zhulian, so his words had reached her ears through the array formation. She said, "I've already done what I promised you." Guo Zhulian did not respond. She lowered her head, and it was hard to tell whether she was sad or afraid. Guo Zicheng's ex-wife walked past her naturally. They did not say a word, and in the eyes of others, this was the situation. They did not know each other. Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows. At first, he thought that this was some kind of melodramatic plot. But now, it seemed that there was some suspense. Could Guo Zhulian have been involved in Guo Jieshi's death? She had escaped the night Guo Jieshi died. Her behavior was actually very strange, but the timing was perfect. It was just that she was too weak, and Guo Zicheng's behavior was even stranger. It was almost impossible to link it to Guo Zhulian. Xiao Jin was deep in thought. Chapter 976. After the funeral, Guo Zhulian naturally wanted to go back with Xiao Jin quietly. But she was stopped by Hao Jiuzong on the way. "Zhulian." Hao Jiuzong came up and grabbed her wrist directly. Guo Zhulian's face turned pale. It seemed that she was in pain. Seeing her expression, Hao Jiuzong paused and took back his wrist. "I'm sorry." Guo Zhulian didn't say anything. Hao Jiuzong said, "Zhulian, don't go. You can stay in the Guo family. Now the inheritance is yours. Your sister is in good health. She won't ask you to donate anything. You can keep it." "Why?" Guo Julian raised her head and looked at him seriously. To you, it doesn't matter where I am, right? Why do you insist on letting me stay in the Guo family? I don't want to stay in the Guo family. Do you know that? Hao Jiuzong was stunned. Why? Because they are not good to me. My sister is not good to me. My mother is not good to me. My grandfather is not good to me. Why should I stay in the Guo family? You can only see what you want to see. Why don't you ask me if I want to? You see me when I'm in pain. Do you see me when I'm unhappy? You are going to marry my sister. Why do you care about me, brother-in-law? Guo Julian almost couldn't help saying these words. She looked at Hao Jiuzong. Especially the last word, it deeply pierced Hao Jiuzong's heart. He paused for a moment and said calmly, "Are they not good to you? Don't you know whether it's good or not? How many times have you been to the Guo family? How do you look at me? I don't know what you think in your heart. I don't want to. Now I have escaped from the Guo family. I don't want to go back. Don't stop me. Hao Jiuzong, if you still have a little conscience, don't see me again." Guo Julian admitted that she liked him. But other than that, she knew what she wanted. She was very clear about what she wanted. She ran away from the Guo family to get rid of this family forever, and not for anything else. Hao Jiuzong was a stumbling block on this road. Freedom and love, the love that she couldn't get. Of course, she chose freedom. She just didn't expect that Guo Jieshe would leave the inheritance to her. She didn't want to recall the past. Seeing Guo Julian's red eyes, Hao Jiuzong didn't know what he was feeling. He could only look at Guo Julian until Guo Julian pushed him away and walked outside. Now that Qing Yujun and the others were stopped by the guests, no one noticed her leaving. Hao Jiuzong looked at her back as she left. His eyes were deep. No one knew what he was thinking. Outside, Guo Julian bumped into Qiao Jin. When she saw Qiao Jin, she paused and smiled. "Thank you, Miss Qiao." From today onwards, she was truly free. The person in front of her had helped her a lot. "I can help you get rid of Hao Jiuzong, and help you get rid of the Guo family." Qiao Jin suddenly said softly, "But I've never liked it when people lie to me." Guo Julian's face stiffened. Qiao Jin went straight to the point. "I heard Guo Zicheng's first wife talking to you just now." Guo Julian's face turned even paler. How could Qiao Jin hear them from such a distance? Qiao Jin said, "I was worried about you, so I set up a formation. I didn't expect to hear something unexpected." Chapter 977. Qiao Jin was not a person who liked to beat around the bush, so she asked directly if there was a question. Guo Julian's body stiffened. We originally suspected that Guo Jieshe's death was related to Guo Zicheng, but we didn't expect his first wife to be involved. In the end, we didn't expect you to be involved as well. What role did you play? Is Guo Jieshe's death related to you? Guo Julian's lips trembled. She was still pale and looked particularly pitiful. Qiao Jin said, "Even if I know, I won't send you to the police station." "What are you afraid of?" Tears flowed from Guo Julian's eyes. "I don't want to say, is that okay?" "Qiao Jin, I can roughly understand you, but I'm sorry, Miss Guo. If I want to help you, I have to at least know everything. Because once you hide something, any normal person will think that you have some ulterior motive. Plus, you also received Guo Jieshe's huge inheritance." Guo Julian began to tremble all over. She seemed to have recalled something terrible. Qiao Jin said, "If you don't want to, I will use a backtracking array to see what happened to you. You don't have to say it, but you may recall it." Hearing this, Guo Julian's pupils trembled. Her tone was very sad. She said, "You see, I can't say it." Qiao Jin nodded and then used the obscure Shua array on Guo Julian. Even if she didn't see it, Mo Jiang would find a way to force it out. The backtracking array didn't hurt, but it would make the person involved recall the past, including Guo Julian's short life. However, Xiao Jin didn't expect that what she saw was really beyond her expectations. She saw that when Guo Zhulian and Guo Zhui were very young, they moved back to the Guo family's mansion. In their childhood memories, Guo Zicheng's first wife was still by his side. They often quarreled over this matter, and Guo Zicheng did things his way. The fact that he brought his illegitimate son back to the Guo family was proof of this. Until the nightmare descended. The young Guo Zhulian wasn't liked. When she was 5 years old, she accidentally saw Guo Jieshe, who was considered strong at that time, trying to touch Guo Zicheng's first wife. There was no one in the house that day, only Guo Jieshe and his daughter-in-law. Guo Zhulian heard Guo Zicheng's wife scream. She ran to the door and saw this scene. Because of the bush, Guo Jieshe didn't have time to succeed. He was afraid that the child's mouths the bush's mouths. From then on, Guo Zhulian felt that Guo Jieshe looked at her was the way the neck. She didn't want to's the necks, she didn't want the bush's throats as the eye, she didn't want this the grandfather. The bush is thus the bush 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 bush, thus the bush 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 bushes, was this the bush 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 bush, s this the bush 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 bush. The bush 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 the bush 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 the bush 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 bushes the bush 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 to the test St Guo Zicheng's wife was scared out of her wits. She found an excuse to take Guo Zhulian away and moved out of the mansion the next day. When she left, she only said to the young Guo Zhulian, "I can't protect you in the future. Don't get close to your grandfather. In the future, follow your father. If there's anything, look for your father. At least he won't watch these things happen, understand?" Even if this was her husband's mistress outside, he had saved her once by accident. Guo Jieshe was a beast, but she was afraid of Guo Jieshe and didn't dare to announce this matter. Chapter 978. Did Guo Jieshe appear to be kind? Of course. Otherwise, Xiao Jin would only think of him as an ordinary old man when he first saw him. People with a strong birth chart actually represented a strong character to a certain extent. Xiao Jin couldn't see the fate of the other party just by looking at the surface. Because of this, many people were confused by Guo Jieshe's appearance. However, he was able to rely on his wife to make a fortune in a place like Xiangdu. How could he be a good person? From then on, Guo Zhulian felt that her grandfather was strange and very scary. Fortunately, ever since Guo Zicheng's first wife divorced him, he would return home no matter how late he was in the company. Not long after that, Qing Yujun came. She didn't know if he had discovered or heard something. That incident was like an accident, and it gradually faded from Guo Zhulian's memory. She was too young at that time and didn't know what it meant. Guo Jieshe didn't do anything similar again. She just thought it was a friendly exchange between grandfather and grandson. She was immersed in pain day after day. Since Qing Yujun moved in, her life became even more miserable. In the past, she could at least go out. In order to keep her body in the best condition at all times, Qing Yujun didn't let her go out and didn't let her make any friends. She ate and drank special food. Since she was young, she hadn't even touched any stimulant food. She hadn't even eaten common ingredients like ginger and garlic. Everything she had was built on the foundation of her health. She gradually felt a kind of despair and suffocation. Until the age of 11, she was sleeping in bed in the middle of the night and suddenly felt a little movement. She was a light sleeper and was quickly awakened. In fact, she didn't feel safe. Then she saw Guo Jieshe standing by the bed. He narrowed his eyes and looked at her, his hand covering her young body. He didn't expect Guo Zhulian to suddenly wake up. He was a little surprised. At that time, Guo Zhulian was not ignorant. She was frightened by her grandfather's sudden behavior and almost screamed. Then she heard Guo Zicheng's voice, "What are you doing?" Guo Zicheng stood at the door. He usually didn't care much about his children, but at this time, his figure was as majestic as a god. Guo Zhulian saw him and instinctively called out, "Daddy." Guo Zicheng's face was sullen. Guo Jieshe saw his son's face and walked out of Guo Julian's room in embarrassment. Before the door was closed, Guo Julian heard Guo Zicheng scolding Guo Jieshe. Are you fucking crazy? Are you getting more and more shameless as you get older? There are so many people outside. She is your biological granddaughter. Are you a beast? Then, with a bang, the door was slammed shut. Guo Julian's words were cut off by her ears. At that time, she was still young and didn't quite understand the specific meaning. It wasn't until she grew older that she realized what Guo Jieshe wanted to do that night. She was saved by Guo Zicheng. Since then, Guo Jieshe had avoided her. However, she would never forget that scene. She opened her eyes and saw Guo Jieshe standing in front of her. Although nothing had happened, once this happened, it was like a shadow that could not be shaken off. She had never hated someone so much before. She hated her even more than her sister and mother who treated her badly. She wanted him to die. Chapter 979. Later, Guo Zicheng's wife came back a few times. By chance, Guo Julian bumped into her. She and Guo Zicheng discussed how to get rid of Guo Jieshe. Without batting an eyelid, Guo Julian actually didn't participate in anything. The will left behind was fake. Guo Jieshe didn't leave the money to Guo Julian at all. The will was written by Guo Zicheng's wife who controlled Guo Jieshe. He didn't even think that Guo Zicheng wanted his life when he was about to leave the will. Guo Julian was the Guo family's little pitiful girl. She was silent and no one would care about her. No one would notice her. Guo Zicheng's wife remembered what happened when she was young. She gave Guo Julian more than 1 billion yuan. Because Guo Julian once said, "I want you to save me and get me out of this house." It was just that Guo Zicheng's wife couldn't do it. Although she was a spiritual reader, her ability was different. She didn't have the ability to reach the sky. She couldn't save Guo Julian for the time being. Fortunately, Guo Julian ran out on the night Guo Jieshe died. In fact, Guo Zicheng found out. But he didn't care. Guo Zicheng was the most contradictory character in the story. He didn't like his wife, nor did he like Qing Yujun. Guo Julian had never seen Guo Zicheng smile in front of Qing Yujun. Not getting married for so many years was the best proof. So Qing Yujun was always angry. Guo Zhui's health was not good, and she loved her eldest daughter, so she vented all her resentment on her youngest daughter. But Guo Zicheng, who didn't like these children, also freed Guo Julian from Guo Jieshe's hands. He stopped Guo Jieshe. And he let Guo Julian go in the end. He should have known that his mother was killed by Guo Jieshe. He just discussed with his wife to better escape responsibility. Both of them wanted Guo Jieshe to die. Guo Julian's memory didn't recall many things about them. Her most vivid memory was the scene of Guo Jieshe standing in front of her in the middle of the night. Indeed, it could leave a shadow for a lifetime. Xiao Jin finished reading all the memories and paused. Guo Julian in front of him had closed her eyes and tears streamed down her face. Her body was trembling slightly from crying. Xiao Jin withdrew his hand and sighed. She said, "I'm sorry." Even if she was sorry, she had to see this. Guo Julian had her reasons for hiding it. She couldn't bring herself to say such things out loud. This seemed to be a very small matter, but it was like a rope, strangling her neck from time to time. Whenever he thought about it, he would feel suffocated. Guo Julian had never experienced much familial love since she was young. Her father's indifference, her mother's dislike, and her elder sister's covert suppression. She lived in a cage like the Guo family. Her life was airtight and she couldn't breathe. Meeting Hao Jiuzong was purely an accident. He was here to attend the Guo family's banquet. He met Guo Zhui and her sister. However, in Guo Julian's memory, Hao Jiuzong didn't see her many times. Guo Julian didn't know how he got in touch with Guo Zhui. She did like this brother-in-law. She was trapped in the Guo family's cage for the first half of her life and had never seen an outstanding man. Hao Jiuzong was tall, handsome, and polite. The moment he appeared, he entered her heart. But she was very clear that this love was destined to end without a result. He chose her elder sister, not her, so there would be no result. Chapter 980. Xiao Jin gently stroked Guo Julian's hair. His voice was calm. It's all in the past. It was all in the past. Now, Guo Julian had escaped and obtained the inheritance. Fortunately, she met the only good person, Guo Zicheng's first wife, Ling Yushan. Ling Yushan remembered what happened when Guo Julian was young, so she had always been kind to Guo Julian. She was a good match for Guo Zicheng. But later, as the Guo family became stronger, Ling Yushan's family was not enough. Guo Zicheng betrayed her without conscience. Ling Yushan was almost humiliated by his father. She must have hatred in her heart. Xiao Jin guessed that she might have resentment towards Guo Zicheng. She controlled Guo Jisher's body to kill Guo Zicheng. However, from the moment this matter came out, Xiao Jin would no longer care about it. Guo Julian cried uncontrollably. She almost jumped into Xiao Jin's arms. Soon, someone seemed to come from behind. Qing Yujun noticed that Guo Julian ran away again. Of course, she came out to catch her. Xiao Jin left with Guo Julian. From now on, you will follow Mo Jiang. The new identity card I got for you is just enough for you to disguise yourself. Xiao Jin brought Guo Julian back to Mo Jiang's apartment and said, she needs an assistant. You can be her assistant on the surface. Follow her. Mo Jiang has the ability to protect you. You don't have to worry about Hao Jiuzhong sending people to catch you. Guo Julian nodded. She had cried on the way back. She felt a lot better now. After all, she had really left the Guo family. Now that she had Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang's protection, she was a lot safer. Naturally, she felt more at ease. When Mo Jiang came back, Xiao Jin briefly told him about Guo Julian. Mo Jiang was in disbelief. He suddenly clicked his tongue. I thought you were a little capable. I didn't expect you to be so pitiful. Guo Julian, Xiao Jin said, she's already so miserable. Don't hurt her anymore. Furthermore, Guo Julian was in a miserable state. Mo Jiang had such a huge debt of blood on his shoulders. She guessed that Mo Jiang was in an even worse state. Mo Jiang clicked his tongue and looked at Guo Julian. Don't think about anything else. It's good that you've inherited the inheritance. You'll know now that nothing is good in this world except for money. The high priest had only been in this modern world for a short time, but he had already deeply understood the truth of the modern world. He also had his own twisted logic. Xiao Jin sighed as she listened. She looked at Guo Julian and said, I'll head back first. You stay here. Other than following Mo Jiang, don't go anywhere else. Guo Julian nodded. Okay. She hadn't safely left the Guo family yet, so of course she wouldn't be so unwise. Xiao Jin left the place and received a call from Zhongli Peining on the way. It was about the outcome of Zhong Jiayin's case. They had investigated Zhong Jiayin and accidentally found out a big thing. The spirit group in Xiangdu was really not peaceful. Zhong Jiayin herself was a formation master, so she wouldn't reveal her information. However, according to the investigation, there were many people in the spirit group who did such things in private. They colluded with the major families in order to gather wealth for them. Therefore, they had been working closely with the major families in Xiangdu for so many years. In fact, everyone knew about this before. Moreover, there had always been disputes between the capital and Xiangdu, so it wasn't easy to manage. However, it was different this time. Zhong Jiayin didn't hide her matter, but she brought bad news. Chapter 981. Recently, people in Xiangdu have been in trouble. Zhongli Peining said, the incidents are all related to the spirit group. This time, Zhong Jiayin came to the capital to tell us the news so quickly. Actually, she's here to ask for help. She couldn't help but sigh when she said this. In the past, they were so wary of us. Now that something has happened, they still have to ask us for help. We're all from the same country. Why bother? Xiao Jin smelled it. What happened in Xiangdu? Zhongli Peining said, according to what Zhong Jiayin said, there are quite a few formation masters who have been invited by the clans in Xiangdu to become formation masters. In Xiangdu, formation masters like us are called formation masters. These formation masters originally cooperated with these clans to protect these clans and make money. In fact, they used some shady methods. Zhong Jiayin said that something has happened recently. Many of the families under the Array Master's banner have met with mishaps. Many of the descendants of the big families have met with mishaps and died. This has involved the Array Master and has caused a lot of trouble. According to their investigation, they suspect that they have offended another group of foreign formation masters. But now they can't catch them, and they can't find out who they are. So, Xiangdu is a little chaotic. Zhong Jiayin came to ask for help, but Zhongli Peining was a little embarrassed. We can't send too many people. When it came to formation masters, there were only a few formation masters in the capital. Moreover, some of them were still on missions and didn't want to go to Xiangdu. In Xiangdu, the formation masters were a little unscrupulous. It was not as strict as the capital. The formation masters knew that some things would backfire, so they weren't willing to get involved in such troublesome things. Zhongli Peining's call was also very obvious. She was asking for help. She was asking for help from Xiao Jin. After all, this wasn't the first time. Xiao Jin could only sigh slightly. Is it urgent? Zhongli Peining was a little embarrassed. Of course, we'll do it as soon as possible. Of course, we'll still send someone to follow you. Zhi Mengmeng. This time, Xiao Jin didn't refuse. Mo Jiang had to shoot a movie, so he couldn't accompany her to Xiangdu. Xiao Jin did not plan to bring her along this time. She said softly, yes. After a pause, he said, transfer the money to my card. She didn't have any demands for money, but she couldn't work for free. Zhongli Peining. Of course. This was something that was certain, so Zhongli Peining naturally wouldn't refute it. Xiao Jin thought about going to Xiangdu again, so he called Song Yanqing first. To Xiangdu? Song Yanqing remembered that you was also in Xiao Jin's direction last time. He said, you can go first. I'll come 2 days later. Xiao Jin said, you don't have to worry about me. I'll be fine. If anything happens, I'll run first. It was impossible for her to sacrifice herself for someone else's mission. Song Yanqing smiled and said, I'll go with you. What if I can find something else? Xiao Jin thought for a moment, then nodded and said, up to you. He hung up the phone and went home. This time, he was going to Xiangdu again. It would be better if he went tomorrow. Xiao Jin told his family members. The Mu family had just come down from Guojisher's funeral today. Hearing that Xiao Jin was going out again, Xiao Fei couldn't help but ask, where are you going? Are you busy with your business? Xiao Jin nodded. Of course. I'm very busy. Xiao Fei was a little reluctant. Xiao Jin said again, the client gave me 10 million yuan. Xiao Fei. Chapter 982. Musilian was stunned. Why are you charging so much? Isn't this just fortune-telling? Mu Xiangshan rolled his eyes at Musilian. You don't know shit. Feudal superstitions are terrible. I've seen people who charge tens of millions in my early years. They say that it's to invite a god. I don't know if they're fooling ghosts or not, but these people especially believe in this. Xiao Jin's 10 million is cheap. At this time, Mu Jinming and Mu Qizhi had not returned. They had gone to the company, so no one could educate Xiao Jin for the time being. Muzilian was a little unconvinced. Isn't it just fortune-telling? What if it's not accurate? Do those people even believe in this? Who knows? It's like this now. Doing business has to pay attention to some metaphysical aspects of feng shui. I don't know the specifics, and the water is deep. Xiao Jin, be careful when you go. Xiao Jin nodded. I will. Xiao Fei was a little worried. Why does it sound so dangerous? Isn't it just fortune-telling? Why does it sound so mysterious? Xiao Jin comforted him. It'll be fine, Fei Fei. I'll be back in 2 days. Muzilian heard this and immediately raised his hand. Why don't I go with you? Xiao Jin, Mu Xiangshan glared at him. How can you go? If anything happens, you'll have to ask your sister for help. Why should she bring a burden? Muzilian, how could he say that? Did he know how to talk? Who said he was a burden? Back then, in the two strange worlds, he had to rely on his own intelligence to escape from them. It was a pity that these things could not be said for the time being. Otherwise, Xiao Fei would be scared to death. Muzichu frowned and said, Why are you going with Xiao Jin? Don't delay her business. Muzilian, why did this group of people in the family still refuse to believe him? He felt very disappointed. Empty, lonely, and cold. Xiao Jin saw that they were fooling around, so he didn't reveal any more details. It would be better if she just said that she was going to get her fortune told so that the Mu family would not worry about her. Although the things she did were complicated, they could all be summed up as fortune-telling, which made people feel more at ease. Xiao Fei suddenly said, Oh, by the way, when I came back from the Guo family's funeral today, I heard them say that the Guo family's daughter went missing. They said that she ran away after attending the funeral today. Do you know who she is? I saw a few girls at that time, but I didn't know which ones were the daughters of the Guo family. Everyone, at the mention of this, Muzilian became excited. Hey, didn't you say that you saw old Master Guo's corpse come back to life with your own eyes? Do you really not know what happened? When Muzilian said this, he looked at Xiao Jin and Mu Xiangshan. Mu Xiangshan, how would I know if he came back to life? Why don't we get Xiao Jin to read your fortune tonight and get Guo Jieshe to tell you in your dreams? Muzilian, Xiao Jin said, this is a little strange, but it's not something we can do about it. The police also investigated and said that there was nothing wrong, so there's nothing wrong. Xiao Fei thought that the police didn't know about such a mysterious thing. They didn't see it, so of course they had to treat it as an accident. Otherwise, why would the Guo family burn the corpse so quickly? Although it's a little disrespectful to let someone die, but Mu Qilian spoke in an enigmatic manner. Chapter 983. I heard that Grandpa Guo wasn't a good person either. Before Muzilian could say anything, Xiao Fei frowned and said, Stupid kid, don't you know that the dead should be respected? What nonsense are you talking about? How can I say that? I heard it from others. Muzilian said confidently. Xiao Fei paused. Why isn't he a good person? The others were speechless. Muzilian continued in a low voice, I really heard it from others. Those people seem to be from Xiangdu. They were discussing it with my brother. They said that Grandpa Guo's life in Xiangdu was quite chaotic when he was young. What's even stranger is that after his wife died, he had many lovers but never had any children. They said that Grandpa Guo was cursed. At this point, Mu Qi quickly clarified, it's all hearsay, hearsay. Mu Xiangshan sneered. Continue. Muzilian said, didn't they say that Grandpa Guo's first wife was killed by someone he hired? The police had more or less conclusive evidence and he was old, so he could only let him go. Who would have thought that he would die after coming back? Outsiders are still guessing that his death wasn't an accident. Maybe his death has something to do with Uncle Guo. Uncle Guo and his first wife divorced him because Grandpa Guo was involved. He seemed to have done something to his daughter-in-law that he shouldn't have done. Mu Xiangshan's expression changed. Some things can't be said carelessly. Musilian shrunk his neck. I really heard it from others. How could I have imagined such things? Qiao Fei was stunned. No way. Why was the Guo family's plot so exciting? This was even more melodramatic than television dramas. Mu Qichu was also a little shocked. He was usually infatuated with his studies, but he didn't expect to hear his younger siblings talking about all sorts of nonsense at home to broaden his horizons. Qiao Jin was very calm. This is the truth. Guo Jieshe had that idea, but it didn't succeed. Later, Guo Zicheng's wife was afraid, so she insisted on divorcing Guo Zicheng. Guo Zicheng knew about this. As for anything else related to Guo Zhulian, Qiao Jin couldn't possibly say. Everyone, Mu Xiangshan's expression immediately turned subtle and complicated. He thought Guo Jieshe was already shameless enough, but he didn't expect him to be even more shameless than he imagined. Qiao Fei cursed without hesitation, then it's good that he died. He had lived for so long. If one were to call him a scum, then he would be a beast. The atmosphere was a little tense because of the Guo family's matter. In the end, it was Qiao Jin who said, "That's all you know. The Guo family's matter is over now. Guo Jieshe is dead. The Guo family will deal with the other matters themselves." When Qiao Jin went up, Qiao Fei muttered, "I really don't watch enough television dramas. I can't imagine such a melodramatic thing." Mu Xiangshan didn't know what to think. In the end, he shook his head and sighed. He got up and went up. That shameless old thing had died in such a straightforward manner. Musichu looked at Musilian. "Who told you all this nonsense? Didn't I say it was my brother? We just bumped into each other at the funeral." Since they know, it means that many people know. Musilian said sneakily, "Look, Qiao Jin knows more than me." "Brother, do you think Qiao Jin is really just in the fortune-telling business and not doing anything dangerous?" After all, he had been through a complicated world with Qiao Jin. Why didn't he believe it? Could it be, Musilian suddenly trembled. Taking someone's money to kill them. Chapter 984. Qiao Jin was ready to head to Xiangdu. The spirit team bought her a plane ticket and booked a hotel for her. All the information about Zhong Jiayin was sent to Qiao Jin's phone that night. The next morning, she met up with Xi Mengmeng at the airport. Xi Mengmeng felt that she hadn't seen Big Boss in a long time, so she was quite excited to see her. Big Boss Qiao. Ever since she went on a mission with her, Xi Mengmeng learned about Big Boss's achievements. So many things were settled by Big Boss, so the spirit team was really embarrassed. After all, the spirit team had suffered too many losses recently. Also, if she didn't call her Big Boss, it wouldn't be in line with her status. Big Boss was still Big Boss. She was as calm as ever. When she saw Xi Mengmeng calling her, she just nodded slightly. The weather had turned cold recently, so Big Boss was wearing a white sweater and black pencil pants, with a camel-colored windbreaker over it. It was obvious that they were all big brands, but when Big Boss wore them, other than the simple and elegant aura, she was even more ethereal. Xi Mengmeng sighed in her heart. She had never seen someone like Big Boss. Big Boss Qiao actually didn't have that kind of stunning beauty just by looking at her facial features. However, beauty was reflected in many aspects. It wasn't just a standard face, but also temperament, figure, and other aspects. The first time she saw Qiao Jin, she felt that she was so beautiful that it was unreal. It was a kind of unreal, as if she had walked out of a comic. To be more specific, it was probably because she had a soft glow about her. When she sat down, there was a feeling of immortality, as if there was a faint layer of fog around her. This was mainly because Ji Mengmeng hadn't seen Big Boss for too long and missed her so much that she added countless soft filters in her heart. Xiao Jin boarded the plane with her. There weren't many people flying to Xiangdu today, so they were the only ones in the first-class cabin. Ji Mengmeng and Xiao Jin sat at the back, while the first-class passengers in the front row looked back at Xiao Jin. Ji Mengmeng discussed this matter with Xiao Jin in a low voice. Big Boss, you might not believe it, but according to Zhong Jiayin and the others, the things we came into contact with this time didn't seem like anything normal. Instead, they seemed like ghosts. Ghost? Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows slightly, and his eyes showed some excitement. There are no ghosts in this world. Ghosts were another kind of existence. Xiao Jin had never seen one before. Even if he had seen one, it would have been created by psychic trainers using various abilities. For example, someone like Shang Yishan. The information given by Zhongli Peining was also very vague. It was all about Zhong Jiayin's account. She said that there was an unsolvable problem in Xiangdu and the consequences of the formation's backlash. She didn't mention anything about ghosts. I'm just making an analogy. It's quite similar to a ghost, like Shang Yishan from last time. At the mention of Shang Yishan, Ji Mengmeng's delicate face darkened. She's like that kind of existence. She's lethal, and we can't hurt her. She's in a building. According to the information, she was found by accident. But there's one thing about her. She doesn't hurt ordinary people, but her form is very similar to a ghost. We've confirmed that she can't be seen by the naked eye, but she will appear in the camera at a specific time. Xiao Jin looked at her thoughtfully. When we came here, we didn't mention anything about this kind of existence. Are you sure that person isn't a real person? Ji Mengmeng nodded. We found this information based on Zhong Jiayin's clues. Chapter 985. She explained, the reason why I didn't report it to you in time is because the news just came back, and I'm not sure if it has anything to do with what Zhong Jiayin told me. That thing was reported by the spirit group. The key is that the formation master went there and couldn't solve it at all. There was no solution for tricky things. According to the formation master of Xiangdu, that thing only appeared at certain times, and no formation was useful. Ordinary people couldn't even see it with their naked eyes. She wasn't afraid of formations, nor was she afraid of spirit psychics. She wasn't afraid of anything. This was because the formation master had set up a formation when she appeared and angered her. As a result, he had been attacked. However, the formation master had discovered that he could not touch her from any angle. Furthermore, she was clearly not a living person. There was no information about her. She had only appeared there and affected the affairs of some large families. This was a strange point. He had no choice but to report it. Xiao Jin said, why do I feel that the formation master of Xiangdu is useless? Ji Mengmeng said, I don't know. It seems that the abnormal situations have become more and more tricky recently. For example, it was like the formation masters and spiritual psyche masters in the past. The abilities that appeared were very common and ordinary. Only after Xiao Jin appeared, most of the spiritual psyche masters that she came into contact with were actually not the abilities that normal spiritual psyche masters should have in the conventional sense. There were no similar templates. For example, Shang Yishan, who could materialize ghosts, had terrifying and tricky abilities. For example, the extremely rare Su Rong. There were also things related to formation masters. Every formation master naturally awakened some conventional formation points to be able to set up a formation. Different array masters had different innate array points, so many array masters had similar abilities, but they also had some unique abilities. Only after Xiao Jin appeared, things became more and more strange. Mo Jiang, an old monster who could still be alive after 1,000 years, was too scary. Fortunately, she had lost her memory and didn't know how dangerous it was, so she could be appeased for now. Even the Formation Master's ability to control another world was revealed. Qiao Jin's experience had some important clues hidden, but the other things were reported routinely. This actually made the spirit group a little confused. Logically speaking, these situations should have appeared long ago. They had existed for a long time, but they chose to erupt at the same time. Most of the time, the spirit group dealt with normal wizards. They rarely dealt with spell formation masters, especially after a series of events. It seemed that only Qiao Jin could solve this problem. In fact, the spirit group already had a problem, but the big boss was too awesome, so they didn't dare to ask. They were not stupid. What else could he do? He could only let the big shots deal with it. For example, the discovery of the special existence this time could not be handled by the people in Xiangdu, so they could only report it to the imperial capital. They were not willing to do so, but they had no choice. There were many people in the imperial capital. At the very least, there were all kinds of powerful people here. They had no choice but to ask for help. The people in Xiangdu had done a lot of bad things to begin with. Qiao Jin nodded. I can feel it. It was not without reason that some things kept happening. For example, she needed array points, so she would definitely keep looking for array points. She had a premonition that some things had happened because of her, but she didn't need to explain such a small matter. After a brief introduction with Zhi Mengmeng, they arrived at Xiangdu after a 2-hour flight. Chapter 986. This time, with Zhi Mengmeng leading them, a person in charge of Xiangdu appeared to lead them. This person in charge was a man. His surname was He, but he did not have a name. He only told Qiao Jin and the rest to address him as Mr. He. It was obvious that he did not have a name, but he did not want to tell Qiao Jin and the rest their real names. This man was a typical person from Xiangdu. He was dressed in a suit and looked very stylish. However, he could not hide the arrogance in his bones. This was typical of some people from Xiangdu. They looked down on people from the mainland. However, because they were working together and they were asking for help this time, Mr. He hid his arrogance very well. On the surface, he was still polite. However, Qiao Jin was very sensitive to emotions. She immediately sensed it, but she was not interested in discussing it. She smiled faintly. Mr. He also took a second look at Qiao Jin. This girl, who seemed to exude an aura of a fairy, was brought here by the team leader. He did not know her identity. The team leader only said that she was here to support, but there were only 2 people. Mr. He was obviously not very satisfied. It was too difficult to solve this thorny problem with only 2 people. This matter is very urgent. Currently, we need to go to the Ding family. The Ding family is a famous family in building materials in Xiangdu. They are now in charge of real estate. Mr. Ding has been recuperating abroad. The Ding family only has 1 son and 1 daughter, but they have many grandchildren. This time, it's about the grandson, 3rd young Master Ding. Mr. He spoke vaguely. He probably said that the Ding family had been in contact with the spirit group before. In the early years, they started out with building materials. Since they had borrowed the power of the spirit group's formation master, it did not matter whether their methods were proper or not. It was not too bloody. After all, the spirit group did not dare to act recklessly. They must have just given them some luck. However, if it was proper, they would not have suffered a backlash. 3rd young Master Ding was young and strong, but he suddenly fell into a coma recently. If that was the case, it would not have alarmed the spirit group. However, this coma was like a source of infection. Even the spirit group's formation master who had helped the Ding family suffered a backlash. He also fell into a coma. This formation master had joined the spirit group in the early years and was now considered a high-level member. Every organization would have some stubborn members, and the spirit group was no exception. Since he had become one of the higher-ups, it was no longer easy for him to control his subordinates. He was still holding on to some of the authority in the Xiangtu spirit group, but this had happened. There weren't many array masters in Xiangdu to begin with. Once he fainted, it was equivalent to half of the array masters in the spirit group collapsing. His subordinates couldn't just stand by and watch something happen to him. The symptoms of this array master's coma were exactly the same as third young master Ding's. He could not wake up. Some of the things he had cooperated with in his early years had also shown signs. There were still 2 big families in Xiangdu that were somewhat involved with him. Now, there were also accidents in his family. It was not like the thunderous destruction of the Feng family, but the gradual accumulation of those small things, such as the death of a person at a construction site or a company, and problems with the product. Small problems were small, but when accumulated, they would lead to big problems. In addition, knowing that the array master had fainted, Xiang Dou became anxious. After hearing that, Ji Mengmeng could not help but complain, so now that something has happened, it's because you guys couldn't take responsibility for it. If this isn't retribution, then what is? Everyone knew that formation masters would suffer a backlash. Since he dared to cooperate with others, wasn't it obvious that something bad would happen to him? The astral group had always prohibited such things. Chapter 987. Xiangdu City couldn't do anything about it, so there was a situation of knowingly breaking the law. In other words, who wouldn't be jealous in the face of benefits? Even the inside of the capital wasn't much better, but except for the Feng family, who was completely heartless, there were still very few array masters who really did this kind of thing. Ji Mengmeng and the others were all honest. Mr. He was a little embarrassed. After all, they were asking for help now, and he couldn't put on the arrogant look he had in front of the mainland. He could only hold it in and said, no one knew this would happen. Xiao Jin, who was very quiet throughout the whole process, finally spoke, since they made a deal, they must have something to rely on and prepare. I have also checked the feng shui of several big families in Xiangdu. It won't be too serious. Their own fate will combine with the backlash midway. Even if something happens, it won't be a big deal. After all, there were so many people. If everyone cooperated with array masters, could everyone become rich? Of course, it was different. Those who dared to choose would have good luck. Strong luck could make up for a lot of things. It wasn't like the Feng family who directly exchanged other people's lives. Array masters also depended on the people. Mr. He suddenly looked at Xiao Jin and agreed, we all know. It was precisely because of this that they would be bold. As long as nothing happened, what was a little pain in their later years? How could it be more important than a lifetime of glory and wealth? Ji Mengmeng rolled her eyes, I think you guys are quite arrogant. Since you are so capable, why are you still asking for help from us? The little girl was young and impetuous. After all, she relied on her ability to become the team leader of the spirit group. She was not a professional management talent. She didn't have a good impression of Xiangdu City, so her words were very harsh. Mr. He didn't say anything. Xiao Jin continued, since something happened, there must be a problem with one of the links. It collided with the luck and destroyed the originally set array. This is something that can be fixed by the formation masters themselves. Since something has happened, it's obvious that they didn't have the time to do so. They must have offended something incredible. Either it's an even stronger formation master, or the backlash overflowed because they did something even more vicious. No, I really didn't. Mr. He was a little panicked now. Old Mr. Yuan did help old Master Ding's luck in the early years, but he only used things that could make up for it. He didn't do anything outrageous, unlike the Feng family. Everyone in Xiangdu knew about the Feng family's matters. They were all array masters, so it was not easy to hide the news. The Feng family had been glorious for so many decades. Who would have thought that once the backlash came, they would die faster than anyone else? And it was so tragic. The Feng family had many children, and many of them had paid the price with their lives. Almost all of them had died a violent death, and there were no intact corpses. Most of those who were still alive were truly kind. At the very least, they were still alive. However, there was no lack of people who were living a life worse than death. The Feng family's businesses were completely destroyed by all kinds of unnatural forces. Even something as ridiculous as an earthquake specifically shaking the Feng family's factory could happen. Everyone knew how severe the backlash was. Once this kind of thing was forced into a corner, karma wouldn't care whether it was reasonable or not. As long as there was a gap, it would inevitably kill you in all kinds of ridiculous and reasonable ways that you couldn't defy. The Feng family's matters actually reminded the array masters in the industry. After the incident broke out, several array masters in Xiangdu City had the intention to stop. They were thinking of ways to fill the gap in the original transaction. Chapter 988. It was also possible that the problem occurred at this juncture. Since they had done something that was not allowed, even if they did not hurt others, they had plundered some people's luck in advance. The backlash was inevitable. Everything had a price. Then they offended someone they shouldn't have offended, causing the array master to be unable to protect himself, and the backlash occurred in advance. Xiao Jin pinched the bridge of her nose. She looked a little tired, but in fact, she was just thinking about something. If that was the case, this matter was actually too simple. It was far from the point where Xiao Jin had to come over to deal with it. Because this was the backlash. How was she going to deal with it? If they were going to suffer retribution, she would have to find a way to clean up the mess. How could there be such a wonderful thing? However, since he was here, it meant that there was something else that Mr. He had not told her. It involved something deeper. She looked up again. There was a hint of coldness in her clear eyes. You'd better tell me everything you know clearly. Repeat it to me in detail. Mr. He shuddered. For some reason, he felt that this unknown Miss Qiao was even scarier. She was from the mainland, but she was the first person who gave him such great pressure. In fact, he did not think highly of the people from the mainland. He thought that the people there were poor and pedantic. After all, they developed here for decades, while the mainland developed in the past decade or two. Although the development speed was astonishing and the scale was huge, the arrogant people in Xiangdu were unwilling to admit this fact. In their hearts, they still thought that the mainland was a poor and broken place like before. However, with Xiao Jin's imposing manner, he did not dare to say a word about these thoughts. He quickly lowered his head and told her more details. Beside her, Zhi Mengmeng looked at the big boss and felt that she was very awesome. The big boss was indeed the big boss. It was not that she could not tell that Mr. He looked down on them, but so what? She did not dare to show off in front of the big boss. They deserved it. In her heart, she did not want to get involved in the muddy water of the capital, but she still listened patiently. What Mr. He continued to tell her was no different from what Zhong Jiayin had said. The difference was that he said it more clearly. The first cause of the matter was the Ding family. But this third young master Ding just went to the newly completed building to cut the ribbon. Strangely, no one knew what he bumped into. When he came back, he cried out in pain and then passed out. According to the surveillance camera, when he went to the building, he went to basement 5. The 5th floor was an underground warehouse, where goods and maintenance equipment were stored. There was basically nothing out of the ordinary here. When the building was first built, it was quite normal. Moreover, because it was not important, there was no surveillance camera installed on the 5th floor of the basement before 3rd young Master Ding's accident. It was not until someone felt that something was wrong and installed the surveillance camera. Speaking of this, Meng Meng immediately said, "It's the matter I told you about." Xiao Jin paused. Did 3rd young Master Ding run into that ghost? You can see it that way. The person who said this was Mr. He. Seeing that Xiao Jin already knew, he didn't want to hide it anymore. He quickly said. After that, Mr. Yuan also fell into a coma. Although the other members of the Ding family didn't fall into a coma, they often complained that they had headaches and chest pains. They have professional doctors and nutritionists every year, so this kind of undetectable condition shouldn't happen. After that, the Ding family's enterprises started to get into trouble. Chapter 989. Mr. He smiled bitterly. But it was too strange. We suspected that it had something to do with the ghost. We tried to catch her, but we couldn't get close to her. Ji Mengmeng said, "You call the suicide of an employee in the Ding family's company a small matter?" Mr. He's face was pale. That person had been dissatisfied with the Ding family's salary for a long time. He committed suicide because of his extreme personality. It really had nothing to do with the Ding family. Later, the Ding family even compensated him, but it only affected the Ding family's reputation. I said it was a small matter because things started to happen one after another. They all seemed small, but if they accumulated over a period of time, it would seriously affect the Ding family's reputation, which would have a great impact on them. We also tried to find this thing, let's call it a strange ghost. At first, we thought it was another array master, but we really couldn't catch her. She would only appear at 11 o'clock at night and disappear after 10 minutes. When she appeared, she couldn't be seen. She could only be seen through modern equipment, including surveillance cameras. She couldn't communicate with people, but she could attack array masters, and she wouldn't hurt ordinary people. That was the most amazing thing. What happened to Third Young Master Ding was a bit strange. Third Young Master Ding was an ordinary person, but he was in a coma. They couldn't ask him what happened, so they could only investigate step by step. To be able to come to this conclusion, it was obvious that they had already tested it. They didn't tell Qiao Jin about it because they didn't think it was related to the ghost at first. They only confirmed it was related to the ghost in the early morning. Mr. Yuan had been in a coma for a while. When Zhong Jiayin went to see him, she hadn't heard about the ghost yet. She was caught by the spirit group in the capital for investigation, so the information didn't match. Because Xiangdu was unwilling to ask for help, the news was delayed for a few days. They thought of the capital when they had no other way. Ji Mengmeng saw that Qiao Jin didn't say anything. She glanced at him and then turned to Mr. He. "Are you sure that the ghost wasn't controlled by an array master or wizard?" "I'm sure." Mr. He nodded. "We also have high-level formation masters and sorcerers, and they've already confirmed that it wasn't a man-made trace. If it really was a man-made trace, he could have targeted the Ding family directly with his powerful strength. There was no need for him to throw out a bait. This female ghost is someone's controlled object, and if she attacked someone, there would still be a backlash." What he said made sense. If it was really controlled by someone, it wouldn't make any difference if they directly attacked the Ding clan. Ji Mengmeng continued, "Is it possible that the person is a high-grade wizard who can only control female ghosts? Apart from female ghosts, there is no other way to affect people, just like Shang Yishan." At the mention of Shang Yishan, her face turned pale again. Shang Yishan's matter was kept under wraps. They didn't dare to reveal such a bloody incident. Otherwise, Xiangdu would be in a frenzy. What qualifications did the people in the mainland have to manage Xiangdu? Qiao Jin said, "No, Shang Yishan's special ability has been strengthened. If it's just as they described, then this female ghost is not an ordinary thing." He used the word thing to describe it because he couldn't find a better adjective. She turned to look at Mr. He. "Do you have any videos about the female ghost?" Mr. He shook his head. "No, we tried to save it, but we could only see her at that time. The saved videos were all empty." Chapter 990. In this case, if she wanted to see the female ghost, she had to see it in person. Qiao Jin had never seen such a thing. Now that she thought about it, there were too many things she hadn't seen. At that time, maybe it was because there were few psychic masters and formation masters, there were not many in her memory, and the types were very monotonous. However, there were powerful natural formation points everywhere, so the formation masters at that time took advantage of their early time. But maybe the formation masters in the past were more pure, so they knew more things. And they were natural formation masters. Now that she was in the modern world, she had seen many strange things. Some people and abilities always gave her a feeling of surprise. He didn't see any change in Miss Chiao's expression after he finished speaking. It was easy to go to the scene of the female ghost. He said, if you go to see her at night, it's better to do it through video. She can feel the presence of psychic masters. If you get too close, she will attack. She is so powerful that she can completely ignore the ability to attack your body. But to us, she's like a non-existent existence, just like a ghost. Qiao Jin tilted her head slightly. Is there anything else? What about the clothes the female ghost wore? When did she die? What did she look like? What did she say? Didn't you investigate? Because there is nothing. He's face twisted for a moment. We don't know if she spoke or not. We may not be able to hear her. It doesn't matter what she wore. Her whole body is completely covered in fog except for her face, but we can feel that it is a normal human body. Yes, she is walking, not floating. And we really can't find any information. When we reported it, the capital said that they would investigate whether she was smuggled from the mainland, but they still couldn't find anything. She seems to be a person who doesn't exist. No wonder she asked for help. If this matter couldn't be solved, it would be a big problem for Xiangdu. After all, nothing strange had happened for so long. Some things couldn't be found at all, but in this case, a strange thing appeared so naturally under your nose. It really couldn't be justified if you didn't do something about it. And third young Master Ding's accident was related to her, so it needed to be solved. Qiao Jin's curiosity grew stronger. Since that was the case, they could basically confirm that the problem lay with the female ghost. There was no need for them to go to the other families for the time being. After all, she had never seen something like this before. He also brought them to the Ding family's newly completed building. Surprisingly, since nothing major had happened, many people did not know that there was a female ghost on the 5th floor of the building, and business continued as usual. This building was an ordinary business building. The top 10 floors were rented by the company. The lower 4 floors were filled with shopping malls. The company building was located in another private elevator. The difference was that this building had another gimmick. It was a brand new building, and it was extremely bold and unrestrained. Countless luxury brands had moved in. The shopping mall was very big, and in the middle, there was a spiral staircase that went up and down. The bright and resplendent architectural style always gave people the illusion that they were in a palace when they went down from the spiral. This was also the gimmick of the building. The Ding family had sacrificed a lot for this building. Before the new building was built, nothing had happened. Array masters and feng shui masters had come to check it out, and there was no problem. Who would have thought that something would happen to young Master Ding on the first day of the ribbon-cutting ceremony? Chapter 991. Because of this, they didn't dare to expose this matter. Who would dare to come when it was just opened? It was noon now, and there were many people. He even suggested embarrassedly, she will only appear at night. Why don't we have a meal first? I think you two must be hungry. Ji Mengmeng glanced at Qiao Jin first, and Qiao Jin didn't refuse. He completely saw that team leader Ji said that this was external help, the real backbone. When Ji Mengmeng spoke, she would always look at her before speaking, as if she was particularly concerned about Qiao Jin's attitude. How could Ji Mengmeng not care? This was a big boss. This female ghost was not someone she could deal with. If the big boss didn't say anything, it meant that the big boss was not weak. She just had to be quiet and wait for the big boss to lead her. However, when Mr. He took them to the luxurious restaurant in the mall, Ji Mengmeng still asked Xiao Jin curiously, "Big boss, what do you think will become that female ghost?" Xiao Jin's eyes looked around in the mall. Thanks to the spiral staircase, the buildings on both sides of the mall were almost visible. They were very big and very luxurious. However, Xiao Jin didn't notice this. The buildings were very normal. She didn't even feel anything strange. Her heart was also very calm, as if this was a normal mall, and there was no problem. However, Mr. He and the others wouldn't lie. The female ghost was on the 5th floor of the basement. At such a close distance, she could sense the problem as long as she stood here, but she didn't feel anything. There was no fluctuation, as if it was normal. Could it be that there would be a problem when the female ghost appeared? Besides, Mr. He also said that the things below wouldn't hurt ordinary people, which meant that it wasn't bad. It would attack a psychic because the psychic had his own ability, and there was a certain degree of danger. The other party probably felt threatened and didn't choose to kill, but only attacked to force them to retreat. Thinking of this, Xiao Jin said, "The building is fine, and the feng shui is very good." Mr. He was relieved when he heard this, but he couldn't help but be suspicious. Then why? Xiao Jin looked at him and smiled faintly. "I will only know when the female ghost appears, and I won't look at her through the video. I want to go to the 5th floor of the basement." Mr. He was shocked. Ji Mengmeng said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen to Big Boss." She had never been afraid of an array master who had been alive for 1,000 years. Even the perverted Shang Yishan had been dealt with by her. Why would he be afraid of this strange thing? At most, it was a little strange. Since she continued to speak, it proved that she was confident. Naturally, Mr. He couldn't say anything. He was more than happy to have a big shot take on this matter. The spiritual readers in Xiangdu knew that this matter was too strange, so no one was willing to intervene. As a result, they had no choice but to ask for help from the capital. In recent years, the attitude of the imperial capital had also become more ambiguous. It seemed that they didn't care about Xiangdu, but in fact, they just let it be. The benefits of Xiangdu had also been further reduced. The reason was that the headquarters had been having a hard time recently. Spiritual readers were not directly under the jurisdiction of the higher-ups. After all, they were all spiritual readers, so they had to be more decisive. Xiang was disobedient, so why did he have to spoil her? Although Mr. He felt that Miss Qiao was mysterious all the way, he still didn't know if she was reliable or not. When they reached the floor where they were supposed to eat, Mr. He still took them to the signature restaurant of the mall. Chapter 992. Western food was not bad compared to the places Xiao Jin had eaten before. As expected, Song Yanqing knew how to eat. No matter where he took her, the food would never be bad. Even after experiencing this place, Xiao Jin thought that it was just Western food made by a 3-star Michelin chef. Also, the portion was really small. Lowering his eyes, Xiao Jin calmly ordered a second steak. While Mr. He's mouth twitched, he sent out array masters to observe the surroundings. The surroundings of the building were very normal. Other than some trivial things, such as a few pickpockets hiding near the building, waiting for an opportunity to rob them, nothing else was strange. It was not the kind of place where the more normal it was, the more abnormal it was. This place was really too normal. During the meal, Mr. He received a phone call. Yes, I received it. I'll ask. He looked at Xiao Jin hesitantly. The Ding family wants to invite you over this afternoon. Ji Mengmeng looked up. We're here to deal with the spirit group. Why would we go to the Ding family? We don't have any status. Mr. He was a little embarrassed. Third young Master Ding is still unconscious. We can go and take a look. Maybe we can find more clues. Qiao Jin's tone was very calm. No. She already had a feeling that the Ding family was not her destination. Although this place was very normal, the female ghost was an important clue. There was no need to go to the Ding family. Qiao Jin refused decisively. He could not control her temper, so he could only bite the bullet and reply. He was an ordinary wizard, more like someone who specialized in foreign affairs in the spirit group. The other side was probably not very happy because when He hung up the phone, his tone was a little embarrassed, as if he was trying to appease the other side. Ji Mengmeng supported her chin and looked at Qiao Jin. She said with some disdain, "These families are spoiled. When I was in the capital, those families treated me as a guest. What is the Ding family in Xiangdu? When something happened, they knew to ask for help. Now, they are still arrogant." Qiao Jin did not comment. She was not going. There was still the whole afternoon. She saw that Qiao Jin and the others did not go anywhere. They just stayed in the mall. He had to admire Ji Mengmeng. Now that she saw that it was a shopping mall, she was actually interested in shopping. After all, it was a woman's talent. Qiao Jin was not interested, but he accompanied her. He didn't have time to waste here. He bitterly returned to the spirit group to report on the completion of the mission. He also had to go to the Ding family to briefly inform them of what had happened here. These few days, the spiritual readers in Xiangdu were extremely haggard. Obviously, the two people from the capital didn't seem to take it seriously. Naturally, he didn't understand. For Qiao Jin, it was useless to be anxious. Would acting bitter make things happen in advance? Since they already knew that the female ghost would only appear at 11 p.m., why did they have to use other empty spaces? There weren't many people in the mall. After all, this mall focused on luxury brands. There were not many people who could afford it. Most of them were just there for fun. Moreover, most of the people who could afford it were tourists from the mainland. Therefore, compared to ordinary shopping malls, there were fewer people here. Even so, Qiao Jin had also witnessed how terrifying it was for a woman to buy things. Ji Mengmeng seemed to be interested in trying on every piece of clothing. Her desire to try on clothes and shoes was endless. She had spent a few million yuan in one afternoon. Qiao Jin was speechless. She went out on a mission, and it was enough for Ji Mengmeng to do it twice. At that moment, a group of uninvited guests entered the mall. Chapter 993. The uninvited guests were spiritual readers. Qiao Jin noticed them as soon as he arrived at the mall. This group of people was very similar to Zhong Jian. They were dressed like elites, as if they always had to show off. As a result, they attracted a wave of attention when they entered the mall after Qiao Jin. The few of them were like the characters in the TV series who acted swiftly and decisively. There were 3 men and 1 woman. This time, the woman looked delicate and weak, like Ji Mengmeng. The other 3 men were also ordinary. They seemed to be looking for something when they arrived. Soon, they found Qiao Jin and Ji Mengmeng shopping on the 2nd floor. As if seeing their leisurely appearance, the corners of their mouths twitched. They walked over, and the tallest man among them greeted them. "Hello, are you Miss Qiao and Miss Ji?" They didn't know their names when they came, but they knew how to address them. Qiao Jin was playing with his phone outside, and Ji Mengmeng was only carrying a few bags at the door. Most of them were sent directly to the mainland by the staff. When she saw this group of people, she could sense that Qiao Jin was playing with her phone. She simply raised her head and replied, "Yes." He didn't even raise his head to look at the servants. Because the small game on his phone hadn't been cleared yet. The man's mouth twitched, and he looked at Qiao Jin with some displeasure. "Since you're here, let's get busy." Ji Mengmeng was a little confused. "Busy with what?" The other man answered, "We're here to help Miss Qiao." We belong to the Xiang Dueling group. We know that we're going to face the female ghost tonight, so we're here to protect you. Ji Mengmeng, she was stunned and opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. She didn't know how to describe it. Were they stupid? They had already asked for help from the mainland. Since they sent the two of them here, they should have some idea. How could they still think that they needed protection? It wasn't that she looked down on them. Sending 3 spiritual readers and 1 array master. This array master looked even weaker than her. She was already a burden. If she brought 4 burdens, the big boss would probably despise her. Back then, the 4 array masters were all burdens, so it was easy to imagine. Xiao Jin was busy playing games and didn't look up to answer the question. It was still Ji Mengmeng who said, "There's no need. You guys should go back. We'll be fine tonight. You don't have to protect us." Her choice of words was rather tactful. The female ghost down there is very powerful. This time, it was the female voice that spoke. Her voice was also a baby's voice. It was obvious that she was born with it, but she sounded a little coquettish. Brother Boheo is Mr. Yuan's most valued disciple. He's also the most powerful array master in Xiangdu besides Mr. Yuan. He was specially sent here to protect you. Ji Mengmeng saw that when the girl was speaking, the tallest man in front of her could not help but puff out his chest. Ji Mengmeng? What was there to be proud of? Isn't your master also lying in bed? We don't even know what's going on now. What are you so proud of? Ji Mengmeng complained in her heart, but with a strange expression, she asked, "Is the inheritance system still practiced in Xiangdu?" Other than telling them about the situation, what else could a array master teach? They were born with the array points. Moreover, some things seemed to be stored in their consciousness. As long as they were awakened, they would understand. Otherwise, how could someone like Duan Nianru know how to set up array points? Array masters didn't need anyone to teach them. Jian Boheo's eyelids twitched. No, that female ghost is too powerful. Chapter 994. Seeing that Xiao Jin had not raised his head and was focused on playing the game, he said uncomfortably, "Our people can escape from there, but there are only 2 of you. If the female ghost attacks you, we can cover your retreat." Ji Mengmeng understood. Although they were reinforcements from the mainland, the people in Xiangdu did not believe Xiao Jin and Ji Mengmeng when they saw them. At a time like this, they had to show off their superiority. Ji Mengmeng was a little disgusted, but she did not refuse. "There's no need to prepare. We just have to wait until 11 p.m. Big Boss Qiao will make a decision after he sees the situation." Big Boss Qiao? Jian Boheo was stunned by this name. At this moment, the game was cleared. Xiao Jin turned off his phone, stood up, and glanced at Ji Mengmeng. "Are you done shopping?" Ji Mengmeng smiled brightly. "Almost." Xiao Jin said, "Let's go eat." "I'm hungry." Ji Mengmeng shopped for the entire afternoon and could already eat dinner. She was really awesome. Ji Mengmeng said, okay. Seeing that they did not seem to care about them and went straight upstairs to eat, the people who came felt a little uncomfortable. The girl complained to Jian Boheo in a coquettish manner, "Boheo, why don't they take us seriously? Old Master Yuan, they're confident. After all, they're from the mainland. How can we compare to them?" Jian Boheo's words were a little strange. He had been following Mr. Yuan all this time in the imperial capital, so he was his disciple. His status in the spirit group was not ordinary. Array masters were especially rare, and he was one of the few discovered in the last generation. His status in the spirit group was also very high. He had never been ignored to this extent before. However, it had to be said that when they saw Xiao Jin's face, were all the people from the mainland so unique and good-looking? Xiao Jin and Ji Mengmeng went to have a meal. Zhi Mengmeng complained, just them and they still want to support us. The arrogance in their eyes is almost overflowing. It's just a small place, where did they get their confidence from? Xiao Jin did not say anything. When they went to eat, the people behind them didn't follow them, but they stayed in the mall. It seemed that they couldn't leave, or they wanted to see Xiao Jin and the others panic at night. Perhaps it was because Xiao Jin and Zhi Mengmeng were not polite, but they did not force them to follow. After reporting to the spirit group, they were instructed to just follow and observe. Soon, it was 11 o'clock at night. The mall had long been closed. They used their special connections to stay. The monitoring room was also guarded by members of the spirit group. At night, other than Jian Boheo and the others, many people from the spirit group also came. Actually, they all wanted to see how someone from the mainland could solve a problem that even Xiang Yi couldn't solve. Since Qiao Jin and Zhi Mengmeng didn't seem friendly when they came today, they didn't care whether Qiao Jin could solve this problem. Instead, they wanted to embarrass Qiao Jin. When she was attacked by the female ghost, let's see if she could still maintain this cold and aloof appearance. It was really annoying just looking at her. Some people's bad habits were like this. They had already asked for help, but they still cared about other people's attitude. It wasn't that Qiao Jin couldn't feel it. She didn't care about the people from the spirit group at all. The time on her phone was almost 11 o'clock. There were still 10 minutes left. The elevator was open, so she and Zhi Mengmeng chose to take the elevator down. Chapter 995. Zhi Mengmeng was actually still a little afraid. After all, she did not know what it was. However, following the big boss gave her a different sense of security. While she was thinking about this, the elevator had already reached the 5th floor with a ding sound. As it had just been repaired, it was not completely frozen yet. There was a special smell of building. This was an underground warehouse. The surroundings were designed to be large and independent. Walking past them, they were all warehouses. According to the information, the female ghost would appear at the bottom of the middle direction at fixed times, which was the end of the elevator. Zhi Mengmeng and Qiao Jin appeared here. The two of them looked around. There were lights around, and there was no dim environment. The lights were very bright. They said that the lights could not affect the existence of the female ghost. The time was 10:59. When Qiao Jin and Zhi Mengmeng reached the bottom, it was an empty environment. There were open warehouses on both sides, and they were piled with goods and maintenance equipment. Qiao Jin vaguely felt something. She felt an aura. That aura gave her a very familiar feeling, and even a kind of nostalgia. Zhi Mengmeng stood beside her, looking nervous and afraid. Obviously, she did not feel anything. Then, in this feeling, a figure filled with fog suddenly appeared in front of her. The figure in the fog seemed to be gradually formed. From the beginning, it was little by little and gradually expanded into the shape of a person. Her body was hidden in the fog, but her face was very delicate and clear. She was like an ordinary girl who could only be described as delicate and pretty. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders. When she appeared, she made some sounds when she stepped on the ground. She was humming a song. She was humming a song. The moment Qiao Jin saw her, she heard her humming. Looking at the girl's face, she felt that she was familiar. A broken image seemed to flash across her memory. She saw a girl kneeling in front of her and calling her respectfully, Qiao Shi. That was not her name. It was just an honorific. When the girl appeared, Zhi Mengmeng's expression changed. It was as if she saw a person appear out of thin air without a sound. This scene was a little strange. She did not rashly use the formation. At this moment, the girl in front of her turned around and discovered their existence. Zhi Mengmeng's heart tightened. In the next second, she saw the girl's eyes widen as she stared at Qiao Jin in disbelief. Then, tears fell from her eyes. She rushed to Xiao Jin in a few steps, but she seemed to be blocked by something and couldn't get close. The people in the surveillance video were a little nervous. Yes, she's coming. Is she going to attack her? She definitely won't be able to escape. Everyone was discussing. At this moment, Ji Mengmeng and Xiao Jin saw the girl kneel in front of them. Her expression was clearly respectful to Xiao Jin. Her tears were especially obvious under the light, and there was a sadness in her voice. Xiao Shi, I've waited for you for so long. You're finally here. When you appeared, I knew you would be alive. Xiao Jin lowered her eyes. She called out a name in her memory. Furuo. Xiao Shi, it's me. Furuo has finally waited for you. Ji Mengmeng, who could not hear anything, was speechless. The people watching the surveillance video were speechless. Chapter 996. What was going on? Why did she suddenly kneel down before they saw her clearly? Wasn't she quite arrogant yesterday? The people in the surveillance camera were stunned, and Ji Mengmeng was even more stunned. It was mainly because she couldn't hear anything that she was even more stunned. What was going on? Was the big boss already so awesome that others would kneel down when they saw her? She thought that this matter would be easily solved by the big boss, but she didn't expect it to be so easy. However, Xiao Jin wasn't as calm as she looked. She frowned slightly and seemed to be in deep thought. Furuo, when this name came out of her mouth, it sounded a little ethereal. She remembered Furuo's name, but she didn't know who Furuo was. It's me, Xiao Shi. Furuo held back her tears and looked at Xiao Jin. She was extremely emotional. Xiao Shi, you told me to wait for you here, and I didn't dare to leave. All these years, I saw the changes around me getting bigger and bigger. I've lived through countless eras, experienced countless things, and met countless people, but I never forgot Xiao Shi's order. I've been waiting here, waiting for you to appear. You finally appeared. Actually, she wasn't speaking Huaxiao language, but a rather ancient language. This ancient language was extremely complicated and awkward, but there was a mysterious taste in it. Others couldn't learn it easily, but Xiao Jin understood it immediately. However, understanding and knowing were two different things. She just looked at Furuo silently. Unfortunately, I lost my memory. I don't remember anything about you. You don't remember? Furuo was obviously a little stunned. She didn't expect Xiao Shi to not remember her. Thinking of something, Furuo added, could it be that this is the price you have to pay? But there was a trace of hesitation on her face. Xiao Jin said, Furuo, who are you? Furuo was still kneeling on the ground. Xiao Jin wasn't used to it. Just get up. All right. Furuo responded and stood up from the ground. Ji Mengmeng could only hear Xiao Jin talking non-stop, but she could not hear Furuo's answer clearly, which was quite suffocating. From beginning to end, he could only hear Big Boss Xiao talking to himself. Fortunately, the female ghost's actions were in accordance with her words, which meant that they could communicate normally. Was it because he was too weak to listen to their conversation? Furuo said respectfully to Xiao Jin, Xiao Shi, you told me to wait for you here. Now that the time has come and you're here, my mission is complete. Xiao Jin could sense that Furuo's soul was not very stable. She was indeed not a human. It was a soul that had survived using a special method. Xiao Jin asked her, what mission did you complete? Furuo took out something from her bosom and threw it at Xiao Jin. That thing was light as a feather. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a delicate pouch. Yes, it was the kind of pouch from ancient times. It was made of blue cloth and looked very ordinary. However, this pouch had been set up with a powerful array formation. There was something hidden inside. It was impossible to open it with just the strength of one's physical body. After handing the pouch to Qiao Jin, Furuo revealed a relieved smile. I've waited for 10,000 years. Now, I can finally leave in peace. Qiao Jin suddenly looked at her. Furuo smiled and said, Qiao, sure, you don't have to be like this. You said that everyone has their own fate. I've already defied the heavens by existing for so long. Back then, you paid the price for setting up the array formation for me. If amnesia is the price you have to pay, then the thing hidden in the pouch is what you need. Chapter 997. Needed? What was that? After Furuo said this, the fluctuations in her spirit body became more and more intense. She was indeed going to disappear. Furuo said, Qiao, sure, you may have a lot of things that you don't understand, but I don't have time to explain too much to you. The things that you want to know will eventually be found out. After she said this, her spirit body gradually dissipated. Her entire body clearly turned into a cloud of mist and gradually disappeared into the air. Qiao Jin, seeing her suddenly disappear, Ji Mengmeng was shocked. It hasn't even been 10 minutes. Why did she disappear? Qiao Jin's tone was a little complicated. She disappeared after completing her mission. She had waited for so long just to give this pouch to her. Back then, she had left this pouch for herself. Why? Furuo said that what was hidden in the pouch was what she needed. It was just an array. She indeed felt a familiar feeling. It was an array that she had set up herself. Of course, Qiao Jin couldn't open it here, so she didn't say anything. She only said, let's go. The matter has been resolved. Ji Mengmeng, what did she mean by resolved? How was it resolved? She sounded a little confused. The matter with the spirit group has been resolved. Qiao Jin said, it can't be resolved. They offended Furuo. Furuo has a strong protection on her body. This is a backlash. The spirit group has to pay the price for what they did. I won't resolve the backlash for them. Ji Mengmeng, the purpose of this matter was probably to make Qiao Jin come to Xiangdu to get this pouch. Strange. Why didn't she feel it the last time she came to Xiangdu? Could it be that Furuo said that it wasn't time yet? Since Qiao Jin said so, Ji Mengmeng had no other choice. Besides, this was a matter of the spirit group to begin with. All they needed to do was say a word and resolve it. The people from the spirit group clearly saw the female ghost throw something to Qiao Jin and then disappear. This was something that had never happened before. Of course, they had a lot of questions in their hearts. After Qiao Jin and the others went up, the group of people rushed over. Ji Mengmeng directly said, the matter has been resolved. The female ghost will not appear again. We will return to the capital first. She wasn't going to tell him that the matter of the backlash had to continue. Since the big boss had already said that he wouldn't care, why would she care? What did you take? Jian Boheo had seen it clearly just now. At this moment, he looked at Qiao Jin and said, that female ghost gave you something just now. Since you got it, can you show it to us? Before Qiao Jin could finish, Ji Mengmeng said, this is something we helped you solve. They gave it to us. What does it have to do with you? Why do you still want to look? Do you have any shame? After all, it wasn't a day or two that they didn't get along. Ji Mengmeng's words weren't polite at all. Jian Boheo's expression suddenly turned a little ugly. Leader Ji, isn't this a little inappropriate? This incident happened in Xiangdu, so naturally, we, the Xiangdu spirit group, are responsible for it. Now that the problem has been solved, you can leave the follow-up to us. We are very grateful to you, but we still need to investigate the female ghost. Besides, you didn't do anything just now. Instead, it seemed like you spoke, and the female ghost gave you the item. Do we have any reason to suspect that you did this on purpose? Ji Mengmeng flew into a rage when she heard that. She immediately scolded, "Are you crazy? We are here to solve the matter. A bunch of useless trash dares to stop us." Chapter 998. She was really not polite when she scolded them like this. Jian Boheo's face darkened. Xiao Jin glanced at Jian Boheo from head to toe and was too lazy to talk to them. "You won't let me?" Her tone was light, but it gave Jian Boheo an ominous premonition. He pursed his lips, not daring to say yes or no. Someone followed from behind. "You people from the capital can't be so unreasonable. At least give us the thing." "Xiao Jin, what if we don't give it to you? I'm leaving now. Are you going to stop me?" Her tone was always light, and no one could imagine what kind of vortex was hidden under her calmness. Everyone was subconsciously a little afraid. After all, the female ghost had really taken something and disappeared. Although it was very strange, but someone refused to give up. "This is our Xiangdu." Before they could finish speaking, they felt the world spinning and their vision turned black. They fainted together. Ji Mengmeng didn't even see her make a move. She was stunned. "Damn, boss is awesome." Xiao Jin chuckled and left with Ji Mengmeng without saying anything. When they returned to the hotel, she suddenly said, "Don't you think they're annoying? More than annoying, they're simply shameless." Ji Mengmeng complained. "I'm going to report to the spirit group and ask them to reduce the welfare support in Xiangdu again. They're really shameless. Every year, they still ask for so much money from the headquarters." "Xiao Jin, I think it's better to be more practical." "Ji Mengmeng, why didn't Ji Mengmeng know that?" But it didn't take long for her to find out. She received news that the group of people who followed them to the mall woke up and found that they had no abilities. Array masters couldn't use arrays, and wizards couldn't use abilities. In other words, they were no longer spiritual readers. The group of people went crazy at that time. This was worse than taking their lives. When Ji Mengmeng heard the news, she felt a chill all over. They couldn't use their abilities, but their abilities were taken away in an instant. This was obviously something that only Xiao Jin could do. No wonder she said it was better to be more practical. That was to directly take away their abilities. But that was too terrifying. She had the ability to deprive people of their abilities in an instant. Wouldn't it be easy for her to do the same to the spiritual readers in the capital? Ji Mengmeng thought about how the spirit group had interacted with the other party for so long, and for a moment, she felt conflicted. This kind of thing should result in a backlash, right? Why didn't Xiao Jin feel any pressure when he did it? However, the matter was of great importance. The few of them had suddenly lost their abilities, and the matter was only related to them. Ji Mengmeng had no choice but to bite the bullet and look for Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin opened the door and said simply, "I didn't deprive them of their abilities. I just used a formation to trap them for a week." Directly robbing someone of their ability would involve robbing someone of their spirit seed. This was obviously not something Xiao Jin would do. However, Xiao Jin could not use his ability for a week. In addition, they were the ones who wanted to shamelessly snatch his things from him in the first place. Even if they did not do such a thing, they had their own thoughts. Hence, Xiao Jin did not feel any pressure at all. For these people who thought highly of themselves, there was nothing more painful than having their abilities taken away. Even if it was just for a short week. It could also make their arrogant mentality instantly lose its balance. Ji Mengmeng let out an because Xiao Jin's expression was too calm. She actually didn't know what to say. Chapter 999. After reacting, Ji Mengmeng said, "Then I'll tell them right away. It would be fine if it was just for a week, but isn't this not good?" "Why not?" Xiao Jin raised her eyebrows slightly. "Are they my children? Do I have to spoil them?" There's always a price to pay for doing shameless things. If they can say it, I can do it too. If there's nothing else, that's it. If they're still not satisfied, I don't mind taking away their abilities. Don't be afraid. If there's no more trash, I'll find another batch for you. At least I guarantee that their quality is better than the batch in Xiangdu. Ji Meng Meng. Was the big boss so arrogant? After saying this, Xiao Jin directly closed the door behind her. She was now studying the pouch. Ji Meng Meng had no choice but to deal with this matter first. Xiao Jin returned to her room and glanced at the pouch on her bed. The pouch was lying there quietly. It was just an ordinary pouch. The thing hidden inside was probably a note. What could be recorded on the note? Xiao Jin thought for a while and tried to solve the array formation. The array formation was actually not complicated. She was thinking about it before she did it. Now that she had figured it out, she began to solve it. After the array formation was solved, the pouch could be opened. She opened it and saw that there was indeed a folded note hidden inside. However, when the note was taken out by Xiao Jin, it instantly turned into a stream of light and flew out of the window. The stream of light seemed to be very slow, but in fact, it landed at a place in an instant. However, that place was very far away. Xiao Jin instantly felt where the place was. She had a guide. It was not a note. She left an address for herself. What was there at that address? Xiao Jin frowned slightly. However, it was obvious that no matter what, she had to go. The guide was very obvious. Something that could give her a warning 10,000 years ago was obviously a very important address. Something very important to Xiao Jin was hidden here. The most important thing for her now was to find her lost memories and know what happened back then. And what was going on with Song Yanqing? And her old rival, speaking of which, since Mo Huan appeared in her line of sight, the other clues seemed to have been cut off. She looked up information about Mo Huan. Although he was in contact with some people, he hid it too well. But at this time, Xiao Jin finally had a hunch that this matter would end. She looked in the direction where the light had disappeared, and her eyes narrowed slightly. There. She would definitely meet him. Thinking of this, Xiao Jin called Song Yanqing. Xiangdu was separated by the coast, and the time was about the same as the capital. When she called, Song Yanqing had not rested yet. He had already sensed something. His voice was a little surprised and a little amused. That's fast. Calm. It's not that the matter is troublesome, but to lure me there, I met an old friend, but I still can't remember who she is. She told me that she had been waiting for me there for a long time, just to give me something that I had personally left behind. Song Yanqing was also a little surprised. So you got it now? Xiao Jin replied softly, yes. Her voice was a little clear. It's an address. It's abroad. What I need is there. Chapter 1000. Song Yanqing's voice was elegant, low, and decisive. Where? Xiao Jin tilted her head and pondered. If you didn't receive the warning, it means that this matter doesn't have much to do with you. It's better for me to go alone. No. Song Yanqing was very decisive. I don't feel at ease. Xiao Jin suddenly smiled. Are you afraid that something will happen to me? I'm not afraid. Song Yanqing calmly analyzed. Don't go alone. I have the ability to help you now. Don't you suspect that your old enemy is abroad? If we meet by accident, I can help you kill him first. No matter what happens, I will be able to help you. The strength of two people is always stronger than one. Besides, I can help you analyze. Xiao Jin tilted her head. In fact, it wasn't that she didn't need Song Yanqing's help, but she was still used to doing things alone. She would just report to Song Yanqing. Now that she heard his decisive words, Qiao Jin's heart was slightly touched. She had a very strange feeling that she couldn't describe. Perhaps she was still too inexperienced. But it didn't feel bad. Thinking of this, even though Song Yanqing couldn't see, she nodded habitually. Okay, then you can come with me. But I'm being guided. I can only feel a general direction. I can only be guided step by step when I reach the destination. But it's very far. It must be out of the country. Song Yanqing pondered for a moment. It's okay. You can tell me the general direction. We'll choose the nearest country with communication and go there. When we get there, we'll act according to the situation. Qiao Jin said, okay, but your words reminded me. Since there's strength in numbers, why don't we bring 2 more people with us? Bring Mo Jiang and Yu. Yu was a soul master of speech. She was very useful. Mo Jiang was a 1,000-year-old array master. He was the second strongest array master by Qiao Jin's side. Song Yanqing, he didn't speak at first. Qiao Jin asked, what's wrong? Song Yanqing sighed softly, no, if you like, I'll do whatever you want. Although he felt that the 2 of them were an eyesore. However, this was an unknown situation after all, and no one knew whether it was dangerous or not. It was indeed safer to bring these 2 along. There were some things that Song Yanqing wouldn't mind too much. Under his guidance, Yu now had enough ability to protect herself. The abilities of a soul speaker were beyond the imagination of wizards and spell formation masters. Mo Jiang aside, since Qiao Jin dared to bring her along, it meant that she was very strong. All right then. Qiao Jin said, I'll be back tomorrow morning. After that, I'll inform Mo Jiang. Take you with you and let me know once you've made the arrangements. Song Yanqing, how long do you think it will take? Qiao Jin, as soon as possible. She always felt that the place she was being guided to was a hidden thing that would only be opened at a certain time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be guiding her only now. It was precisely because the time was up. Song Yanqing, I'll take care of everything tonight. The important things will be transferred to my father and sister first. After everything is arranged, we'll meet up when you come back tomorrow morning. You don't have to worry about these things. Qiao Jin obediently replied, okay, see you tomorrow. Song Yanqing's lips curled up. He was full of joy even through the phone. See you tomorrow. Good night, Jin. Qiao Jin. Okay, good night. He also called her Jin like Qiao Fei. Chapter 1001. Although it was a little sudden, it wasn't strange. Qiao Jin naturally accepted it. However, not long after hanging up, Qiao Jin received a call from Zhongli Peining. Can't you let them go first? If it was an ordinary spiritual reader, he would be the one to contact Qiao Jin. If it was an array formation master, it would be Zhongli Peining. She sounded very conflicted. She probably knew about what happened just now. Clearly, Xiangdu was making a fuss. Otherwise, she wouldn't have called Qiao Jin. Qiao Jin was about to take a shower and go to bed. Hearing this, he said gently, it's okay. Tell them that if they're not satisfied, I'll go there personally. Zhongli Peining, she shuddered and immediately said, no, no. 1 week is 1 week. She was a little bitter. It's a little annoying, but it's good to be taught a lesson. The array formation masters in Xiangdu have always been very arrogant. This matter is too much. They were the ones who asked for help. Now, they wanted Qiao Jin, who had helped them, to hand over the things. It was indeed too much. They just didn't expect Qiao Jin to teach them a lesson on the spot. He was probably shocked by their shameless attitude. I don't think such a person is suitable to lead the spirit group. Why don't you send someone more suitable? Qiao Jin suggested. It's not safe if you don't have control. That's not the case. Zhongli Peining sighed. Our relationship with the spirit group in Xiangdu is related to our relationship in the real world. Their relationship with the mainland has always been bad. You probably know some of the reasons. The two sides often quarrel on the internet. We want to send people over to intervene, but even if we send people over, they will either be assimilated or unable to integrate. In this case, it will be difficult for the people we send. Xiao Jin, oh, that's fine. If Mo Jiang's next filming location involves Xiangdu, it's better to give her control of Xiangdu. Zhongli Peining. Are you close to Mo Jiang? Xiao Jin smiled and said, why bother asking about something that you already know? Zhongli Peining, although they all knew that Mo Jiang's resurrection had something to do with the big boss, they still felt a little crushed when they admitted it personally. After all, letting a dangerous formation master like Mo Jiang out was very dangerous. Wasn't she in the underground palace last time? How did you bring her out? Although array masters were powerful, they couldn't do things that were beyond their level. For example, teleportation. Only Qiao Jin was able to create this array. The other array masters only knew the basics or the array points that they were born with. Even if it was related to teleportation, it was only a small distance. Therefore, the spirit group couldn't understand how Mo Jiang's corpse appeared in the capital. Qiao Jin didn't bring anything back when he went back. Qiao Jin said, you can ask her directly. Zhongli Peining, she didn't dare to ask the mysterious Mo Jiang. The key was that Mo Jiang's temper seemed too bad. He was like a fish in water when filming on set. Since Qiao Jin didn't say anything, Zhongli Peining didn't ask anymore and hung up. After hanging up, she realized that it was strange. Why did the big boss suddenly say that Mo Jiang should be in charge of the spirit group? Zhongli Peining suddenly thought of a terrifying fact. Could it be that the big boss asked Mo Jiang to join the spirit group? Chapter 1002. In fact, there were many people in the spirit group who were related to the big boss recently. For example, Qiao Jin did not hide the whereabouts of the few spiritual psychics brought back by He Yao. She could investigate them if she wanted to. It was certain that those people were related to her. The problem was that she did not know how Qiao Jin could gather these people. They were all high-level wizards. Now, they were all in the spirit group. Zhongli Peining wondered if they wanted to infiltrate the spirit group. But on second thought, if the big boss wanted to, the spirit group would have been in her pocket by now. However, Qiao Jin did not seem like the kind of person who would help others and send people to the spirit group. Could there be other reasons? In fact, there was a simple reason. Qiao Jin wanted to manage people, but those who joined the spirit group were provided with food, accommodation, and salary. The spirit group also provided information. There was no better organization than this. Qiao Jin went to take a shower and went to bed. She was leaving the next day, so she woke up very early. In fact, what happened last night had caused a huge uproar in the Xiangdu area. It was one thing for a formation master to have all kinds of strange abilities, but sealing abilities was something that no one had ever done in history. Even if the news from the spirit group was a week, it was too scary. As long as the abilities were sealed, the spirit group would be at the mercy of such a person. However, after dealing with the female ghost last night, the backlash still existed, but the Ding family's unconscious third young master Ding and the formation master Mr. Yuan had both woken up. They were just a little weak. After learning about this, Mr. Yuan called the spirit group and said with some dissatisfaction, with such a terrifying existence, why didn't you stop her? Why did you let her come to Xiangdu? The person who answered the phone was a high-ranking member of the spirit group in the capital. Now, he said in a Buddhist tone, sigh, that's not it. Other than her, it seems that no one can solve your problem. We sent experts and even gave you money. Why don't you appreciate it? Mr. Yuan said angrily, she sealed the abilities of my disciple and a few insiders. If others find out about such a terrifying ability, she will be used by them. When the time comes, won't we all be fish on the chopping board for her to do whatever she wants to us? The higher-ups of the spirit group coughed and said, you think too much. Even if we don't seal our abilities, we're still fish on the chopping block to her. Mr. Yuan was speechless. The higher-ups sighed. Don't go looking for trouble with her. She's not an existence you can imagine. This time, the sealing ability is just to teach you guys a lesson, it's not like we're really going to do anything. Your disciple is still a little impulsive. She solved the problem and still asked for things from her. Don't you think it's shameless? Mr. Yuan was upset, but he could only hold it in. Did she say anything about the female ghost? The higher-ups thought for a moment and said, it's a special soul body. Once it's dealt with, it won't exist anymore. As for the rest, I don't know. Mr. Yuan was still a little unconvinced. The higher-ups were getting impatient and warned him, you're already so old. Now that you've suffered a backlash because of this matter, Mr. Yuan, you'd better be careful. If Xiangdu continues like this, we'll consider replacing the leader of the Xiangdu spirit group. The current Xiangdu spirit group is like a plate of loose sand. Mr. Yuan didn't care too much. The capital had to send people here every few years. What was the point of that? The local spirit group's power was deeply rooted. No matter who they sent, it would be useless. Chapter 1003. Qiao Jin and Zhi Mengmeng returned to the capital. Zhi Mengmeng was going to the organization to report this matter clearly, while Qiao Jin was waiting at the airport. She was going to meet up with Song Yanqing and set off to the Nordic countries together. According to her guidance, one of the places on the map was probably Iceland. That place should be near Iceland. As for how close it was, they would only know when they arrived. Mo Jiang came alone. She came in a hurry after receiving the news. She carried a suitcase and rushed over. She looked quite happy. Are you going to Iceland? I promised Meng Qingyu and the others to help me bring something back. Obviously, she was going on a trip. Mo Jiang did not have a passport, but with the Ling group and Song Yanqing, would it be a problem? Qiao Jin said, you can treat it as a trip, but you still have to be vigilant. This trip may be different. Hearing Qiao Jin's words, Mo Jiang's expression changed. You think it's dangerous? Qiao Jin shook his head. It's not dangerous, it's unknown. In other words, Qiao Jin did not know whether it was good or bad. Just like when she got something from Furuwa, if it was not for the guidance, she would not have been able to sense Furuwa at all. There must be a reason why she left this address 10,000 years ago. Things that could not be sensed were powerful. Or dangerous. Mo Jiang thought for a moment. Forget it, it's okay. Qiao Jin looked at her with a smile. Aren't you afraid? Mo Jiang said, what's there to be afraid of? You saved my life anyway. Although she was resurrected, Qiao Jin brought her out of the underground palace. I just brought you out. You still have to be resurrected. That's different. Mo Jiang's eyes flickered. He reached into his bag and took out a bottle of Coke. He opened the can of Coke and drank a mouthful. Then he said, I know my personality very well. If I don't understand this world, I will definitely kill people. This world also has the spirit group, and I'm not as strong as you. If I kill someone, I think the spirit group might send you to kill me. Qiao Jin just faintly glanced at her. His eyes moved down and saw the cola in her hand. Does it taste good? Qiao Jin knew what it was, but at home, Qiao Fei thought it was unhealthy and never let them drink it. Qiao Jin didn't have any qualms about drinking Coke herself, but because Coke was black, she had never drunk it before. Mo Jiang narrowed his eyes. As happy as an immortal. Modern people are really amazing. They have invented all kinds of convenient and fast things. As an array master, she was like a fish in water. Xiao Jin looked hesitant. Mo Jiang glanced at the cola and suddenly took it away. Don't drink it. Xiao Jin, why? Mo Jiang, immortals don't drink these. Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin didn't understand what Mo Jiang was talking about. At that moment, Song Yanqing called. The two of them were sitting in the restaurant upstairs in the airport lobby. There were very few people. After receiving the news, Xiao Jin brought Mo Jiang down. They were walking through the ordinary lobby. However, the two of them were already very eye-catching. Today, there were a lot of people outside the security checkpoint. After taking a closer look, they saw a group of people outside. Among them, a girl wearing sunglasses was surrounded by people. She had the aura of a superstar. Deafening screams could be heard from all around. It was a group of crazy fans. Mo Jiang saw this scene and sneered in disdain. They will all be my fans in the future. Xiao Jin. Chapter 1004. She wasn't just making empty promises either. Unfortunately, this female celebrity was also in first class, even though she tried to keep a low profile. Then, she bumped into Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang the moment she arrived. At that time, the camera was already aimed at the female celebrity, but it shifted. Cameraman, fuck. What is a peerless beauty? This is it. Two of them at once. When the female celebrity saw Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang, her expression stiffened. The fans who had followed her over were also stunned when they saw Mo Jiang and Xiao Jin. There was a moment of strange silence. It was too much to speak against one's conscience. This female celebrity was obviously not as good-looking as Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang. Her aura made everyone feel like they were dregs. Especially Mo Jiang. Her red lips were curled up, and she looked like a devastatingly beautiful scumbag. When she saw the fans looking over, she even winked at them. The fans, seeing a beauty winking at them with their own eyes was too shocking. Ah, sister is so beautiful. Sister's eyes are killing me. Wait, she's Mo Jiang. She looks like that Mo Jiang. The one who's being a couple with Xiaxi. Fuck, I'm Xiaxi's fan. Although that's the truth, why is sister so beautiful? Sister, I want to jump into your pond. Oh my god, is that the legendary fairy behind her? Isn't she too fairy-like? Fairy is like an anime. I can't take it anymore. Ah, Wei is dead. Is she keeping fish? I want to jump into the pond. It turned out that this female celebrity was doing a live broadcast. Coincidentally, they were going to Iceland this week. Naturally, they were going in the same direction as Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang. When the female celebrity heard the voices, she almost couldn't maintain her smile anymore. There was nothing worse than fans betraying her on the spot. Even though there were some fans who insisted, their faces were just too good-looking. Unfortunately, the security check in the first-class cabin was too fast. Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang quickly passed through. Only then did the female star walk over with a cold expression. This program was not a live broadcast. It would be recorded first and then broadcast later. Obviously, there would be editing when the time came. Passers-by without permission would be censored or not necessarily appear in the camera. But these two girls were so outstanding that she even suspected that the program crew would ask for authorization. When the time came, wouldn't she be in a miserable state? No one was in a good mood. Especially when she went in and found them in the same waiting room, her expression turned even worse. When Mo Jiang came in, he whispered to Xiao Jin, "She looks like a female celebrity, but I don't know who she is." Xiao Jin, oh. She didn't care. Mo Jiang snorted. When they went in, Song Yanqing and Yu would be there soon. Xiao Jin and the rest saw the female star come in. When the female star saw them, her expression turned ugly. Now that she didn't have any fans, she naturally didn't have to pretend anymore. She sat down at the seat furthest away from them. After all, there were many people in the waiting room. Xiao Jin and Mo Jiang didn't care about her, but Mo Jiang sneered. After a while, Song Yanqing came in with you. When Song Yanqing appeared, it had the same effect as when Mo Jiang and Xiao Jin appeared. The entire VIP waiting room seemed to shine brighter. This man always seemed to have the ability to change the environment. He could even raise it to another level. Chapter 1005. He was wearing a white trench coat with a white turtleneck sweater inside, which blended perfectly with the color of the trench coat. When he was wearing black, he looked colder, but when he was wearing white, he was simply too murderous. He was gentle and noble, and his handsome face was filled with the elegance of a rich young master. The word peerless seemed to have come into being. When he entered, everyone in the VIP room subconsciously shifted their gazes to him. Even the female celebrity wasn't surprised. Even if he was holding a child's hand, it did not affect his aura and charm. Here. Mo Jiang took the initiative to wave his hand. Seeing that Yu was also wearing a small down jacket today, he reached out and pulled her over to pinch her little face. Yu is going too. After saying this, she raised her head and looked at Xiao Jin. Are you even human? Bring a child too. Xiao Jin ignored him. Song Yanqing walked over with everyone's attention. When he saw Xiao Jin, he could not help but touch Xiao Jin's face. In the end, he lowered his head and kissed Xiao Jin's forehead. It had been too long since they had seen each other. He really missed her obedient side. Everyone, oh my god, I want to die on the spot from eating dog food. What kind of combination was this? Auntie was laughing while she was so angry that she wanted to jump off a building. Mo Jiang timely covered Yu's eyes and commented, too much. Song Yanqing just naturally sat beside Xiao Jin and said naturally, bringing Yu is also to train him. I will protect him. They spoke very softly, but it was quiet here, so it was hard to hear what they were saying. When the female star saw Song Yanqing appear, she was stunned. However, everyone could see that Song Yanqing was noble and elegant. They were not from the same world. The other party's expression was really enviable. No one would not be jealous. But looking at Xiao Jin's appearance, she was completely disheartened. He had the right to be loved. That kind of temperament was too rare. Xiao Jin nodded naturally. It was my idea to bring you along. Mo Jiang, so you still don't know where you're going? Xiao Jin, I don't know. Mo Jiang clicked his tongue. You sat there obediently. Suddenly, she said to Song Yanqing, Brother Yanqing, there's a small cake over there. Song Yanqing's expression was gentle. Go get it yourself. You left happily. At this moment, Mo Jiang suddenly received a phone call. She picked up the phone and said sweetly, hello? Xiao Jin heard an unfamiliar male voice on the other side of the phone. It was very low and deep. It was not Xia Shi. Xiao Jin did not listen to the privacy issue. However, Mo Jiang said a few sweet words to fool the other party. Her words indicated their relationship. After hanging up the phone, Yu ran over with the cake and asked, Sister Mo Jiang, who called you? Mo Jiang smiled and pinched her little face. It's my spare tire. Song Yanqing and Xiao Jin, Yu, what's a spare tire? Mo Jiang was about to answer when Song Yanqing coughed softly. Mo Jiang, TSK, you don't understand. I'll tell you when you're older. But you can't raise a spare tire. Ah, Ju asked, why? You can raise anyone. Mo Jiang sneered. Scumbags deserve to die. You. What was a scumbag? Song Yanqing and Xiao Jin, how could she be so self-righteous about her double standards? Chapter 1006. Mo Jiang had obviously learned bad things from this world. She was already a mature Mo Jiang. In just a short period of time, she had already developed her own concept. She even had her own set of twisted theories. Seeing Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing's speechless eyes, Mo Jiang raised her chin, looking very narcissistic. Obviously, she thought that raising a spare tire and looking down on scumbags were two different things. You naturally didn't understand this. Soon, the boarding announcement came. Song Yanqing held Xiao Jin's hand to board the plane. Behind them, Mo Jiang held Yu's hand. Seeing their fingers interlocked, she couldn't help but click her tongue. Yu looked at her and said, "Brother Song and Sister Qiao, are you dating?" Mo Jiang looked down at her and said, "Do you know what dating is?" Yu said, "Yes, it's two people who like each other being together." "My mother taught me." Mo Jiang complained, "Your mother taught you this so early." Yu smiled brightly. When they walked to the boarding gate, the female star who took the photo was very careful to avoid them. Because if she followed there, the photographer's camera would turn there as if it had eyes. She had stared at it several times, but the photographer didn't have any self-awareness. She was furious in her heart, but she didn't dare to show it. She was worried that when she picked them up at the airport, she had specially asked the woman in the front row to take her airport photo, so that she could publish it later. Now she was afraid that if the photo was taken of them, there would be a comparison. How embarrassing would that be? But then the woman would probably Photoshop the photo to make them disappear. Thinking of this, she reluctantly looked better. She didn't expect to find that they were going to the same place on the way to boarding. She still had to watch the whole way. She was going to Iceland. There was no direct flight in Iceland, so she could only transfer. She hoped that their final destination was not the same. But she didn't expect that they would be the same the whole way. There were some cameras on the plane, and they had already been informed in advance. The cameraman who followed the camera even asked those people if they could let them out of the country, but he was politely rejected by one of the men. Who wouldn't take a few more glances at such a man? Female celebrities were no exception. However, when he realized that the other party's gaze had never once left anyone else, he could only sigh. It was only then that she remembered where she had seen the woman with the little boy sitting 2 seats next to her. She even looked a little familiar. Wasn't it just Mo Jiang? Thinking of this, her face was still a little stiff. Mo Jiang's name was really well known. She had only just joined the cast, but rumors had already spread that she had a powerful backer. She was arrogant and despotic in the cast, but that wasn't the point that everyone noticed her. The main point was that she and Xia had been hyped up as a couple. Xia had also met this female celebrity once. At that time, when it was trending, almost everyone knew about it. It was because the woman's beauty left an impression on the public. Now that she saw the real person, the female celebrity couldn't help but admit that some people were really born to be envied. Mo Jiang's skin was good, and everything about him was good. His facial features weren't too obvious, but his makeup made him radiant. She didn't know if he had noticed the female celebrity, but from time to time, he would throw her a provocative look, which made the female celebrity very angry. He wasn't even officially famous yet, but he was already so arrogant. If he became famous, it would be amazing. When the time came, she would think of a way to get back at him. Chapter 1007. After a long flight, the plane finally arrived at Iceland. As soon as Xiao Jin landed on Iceland, she felt that the thing that was guiding her was getting closer and closer. They didn't need to follow the others, so they rented a car and went in the direction that was guiding them. There were icebergs and seas everywhere in Iceland. Although it was called Iceland, the climate was actually very pleasant. However, when they arrived, they still changed into thick down jackets. Xiao Jin wore a white down jacket. The jacket was too big, so she looked like she was wrapped in a hat. Yu was amazed by the scenery of Iceland. After all, this was her first time abroad, so everything was new. However, after driving for a full 5 hours, they finally reached a place where they couldn't go any further. Xiao Jin looked ahead and frowned slightly. It's in the sea. Because there was a large area of the sea in front of them, the direction that was guiding them was from the center of the sea. It was obvious at a glance that there was no other route to take. Song Yanqing also frowned. How long do you think it'll take? Xiao Jin said, it's not too far away. I just don't know how long it'll take, but it seems to be in the sea. She glanced at the electronic map and said, there's no island in front. In other words, the final thing was in the sea. Mo Jiang held his breath for a moment. Are we going to the sea? Xiao Jin, Song Yanqing, Xiao Jin said, no need. I can set up a formation and let the thing take us there. Song Yanqing smiled. If we knew this would happen, maybe we could have rented a boat. Xiao Jin shook her head. It's too late now. Let's go directly. They got out of the car and used a method to hide the car. Xiao Jin set up a formation and directly took the three of them to the bottom of the sea. It was a very strange feeling. They could feel the current and the temperature of the sea. They could also clearly see the world under the sea. However, they could breathe and didn't feel that they were soaked by the sea. Mo Jiang could also hide under the sea for a short period of time, but he couldn't do it for a long time. They could swim along the water, and sometimes meet schools of small fish. The fish swam over curiously and looked at them, sizing up this group of strangers. It was also the first time that Song Yanqing had experienced such a wonderful feeling. He could even hold Xiao Jin's hand and swim under the sea, which had a special charm. The bottom of the sea was not blue. The deeper they went, the less light they could see. They were not purely swimming. They were being pushed forward by the array. Yu was a child. She would touch the small fish from time to time. The pulling force was getting closer and closer, but they had been swimming for at least 2 hours. 2 hours later, they were already in the depths of the ocean. They still had to continue diving, and they had already dived to the depths of the ocean where humans were basically unable to reach. When they reached a very, very deep place, they seemed to see the bottom of the sea. There was a mass of sand, but they couldn't see anything. The surrounding light had almost completely disappeared. Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing followed the mass of sand and dived in. It was as if they had passed through a soft membrane and arrived at another world. The restraint of the sea suddenly disappeared. Mo Jiang, who was behind them, naturally dived in with Yu. With a pop, it was as if the barrier between two worlds had been opened. When they passed through the membrane, a brand new world appeared in front of them. Chapter 1008. Although it was brand new, it was actually quite shocking. It was as if there was another space at the bottom of the sea. It was a huge underwater palace. When they landed on the ground, they looked up and could only see a mass of black. It was a world formed by the sand at the bottom of the sea, which became the sky of the palace. The palace was very big, but it blocked the seawater from flowing down, making it a complete vacuum. It was another space. If humans knew about this, it would be another shocking discovery. You said in disbelief, is this the underwater world? That's not what I read in the book. Oh my God. There was actually another world at the bottom of the sea, and there was air. They could breathe. However, they could not see any obvious light, but they could see the surrounding environment clearly. They did not know where the light came from. The book did not say that humans have reached such a deep bottom of the sea. Mo Jiang smiled. When we came down, there was no living environment. Nothing can come down. Didn't you see that there were no fish? Humans and machines can't come down. This place will definitely not be discovered by humans. They did not know how long they had been diving, but it was at least tens of thousands of meters. The palace was already dilapidated, like a magnificent epic left behind by predecessors. It did not look like something from the past, but like a product of the past few thousand years. Maybe it was a lost civilization, or maybe it was the legendary Atlantis. But it did not seem like it. Qiao Jin was not in the mood to admire this. She pointed to the deepest part of the palace. It's not far ahead. The thing she wanted to take was not far ahead. At the same time, a large ship suddenly sailed over from the position corresponding to their position. It was a rather luxurious cruise ship, but its top floor was quite high, and there were many people in luxurious clothes on it. It seemed that this was a cruise ship that was traveling. Are you sure the thing is here? At the bottom of the ship, a group of people were gathered together. They were wearing diving suits, and their expressions were unprecedentedly serious. Are you sure the thing is at the bottom? A black man asked in English. I'm sure, an Asian woman answered. This is not a good place. A white man shivered. It is said that countless ships have disappeared in this area, and a country has disappeared here. If history is true, then this is a very dangerous place. Do you believe the lies made up by the news? The Asian woman laughed at him. I'm just sure that there's a treasure here. That thing is very important to us formation masters. At this moment, another group of people came down from the bottom of the boat. They were all wearing diving suits, and the leader had a cold face, but was extremely handsome. If Qiao Jin was here, he would be able to recognize her at a glance. She was Mo Huan, who had been missing for a long time. It was not clear why he had appeared here. Apparently, they now believed that there was something good under the sea. This time, all of them were mobilized. In total, there were more than 20 people in the group. With such a huge scale, they had prepared a lot of things. It seemed that they were going to dive into the sea as well. They looked at Mo Huan, who was their leader. Someone asked him, "Are you sure we can find that thing?" Mo Huan looked at them and a mysterious smile appeared on his handsome face. Of course. Chapter 1009. Otherwise, what was the point of coming here? However, no one could understand the deeper meaning behind Mo Huan's words. Or rather, they understood, but everyone felt that they were the special ones. The treasure was below. Of course, whoever was alive could take it. No one knew what the treasure was. They only knew that there were already so many people when the news spread. They all tied special ropes to their belts. Because they were going to go down to an unknown realm, everyone was both afraid and expectant. Mo Huan was at the front. The window at the bottom of the cruise ship opened. A staircase extended from the window, ensuring that they could go down directly. They were in the cabin by this window. From here, they would go straight down. It was also very ridiculous to go down to the bottom of the sea. After all, no one had gone down for so many years. The ability of a formation master was not enough to last until the bottom. However, Mo Huan could guarantee that they would go down to the bottom of the sea. They did not know who this man was, but they trusted him inexplicably. However, they were also wary of him. When the staircase was lowered, Mo Huan directly took the lead and went down. The various people behind rushed to be first, afraid that Mo Huan would beat them to it. One by one, they stepped on the staircase and went down into the water. They could use diving suits and oxygen tanks for the road ahead. However, they had to rely on Mo Huan for the road behind. In order to avoid being separated, most of them held each other's hands. Mo Huan kept going down. He was very fast, but he did not fall behind the others. As they went deeper and deeper, this group of people reached a realm that they had never been to before. It became more and more difficult for them to breathe. Their bodies could no longer withstand the water pressure. When they were about to explode and die, Mo Huan suddenly threw up an array to protect all of them, allowing them to breathe smoothly. Everyone panted and began to use the array and their own abilities one by one to go down to the bottom of the sea. Qiao Jin, Song Yanqing, and the other two kept going forward. The further they went, the deeper they went. At the same time, some fragmented words came to her ears. It was like a woman's whisper. Those fragmented words were like Furua's language. She whispered, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to go closer? It's not too late to turn back now." Qiao Jin closed her eyes. Since she had come all the way here, she naturally wouldn't be left with any impression. The closer they got to the deepest part of the palace, the quieter the sound became. However, the expressions of the four people were not good. They were probably walking towards the main hall of the palace. From the outside, they could still see the ruins of a city. Walking in from the outside, they found that there were many skeletons along the way. They were all bones. Piles of white bones. These people had all died here. He didn't know how many years had passed. The number of skeletons here was incomparable to any other place. One could even wonder if there had been some kind of war here, which was why so many people had died and so many skeletons were here. However, looking at the remains and clothes on the skeletons, one could tell how long they had been here. There were clothes from many years ago, exquisite and luxurious clothes, and there were also clothes that were modern. There were thousands of years between them. This meant that in the past thousands of years, people had come here constantly. Or perhaps they had come here by accident. No one knew what they had encountered, but they had turned into corpses, rotted away, and then turned into piles of white bones. In the depths of the sea, there were countless corpses, forming a mysterious and unknown world. Chapter 10:10. I know what it is. The closer they got, the more Qiao Jin sensed it. Her expression was not good. It's time. Time array point. Song Yanqing reacted quickly. Qiao Jin nodded. Mo Jiang was also a little surprised. The memory in her mind flashed with the legend of time. She couldn't help but say, "Isn't it said that time array points are just a legend?" People could have various array points, but they were all passed down from a few major array points. The real array points, devour, rules, time, and space were all things in legends. This was in Mo Jiang's mind, but Mo Jiang had never heard of where they existed. There were only legends about these array points. After she said it, she reacted. "Hey, how do I know it's a legend?" Song Yanqing pondered for a moment and said, "Isn't it a good thing for you?" Qiao Jin shook her head, but her expression was a little dignified. "No, I can't get it, and time is also the most important thing." Mo Jiang asked, "Why?" Qiao Jin said, "People who get the time array points will fall into the turbulence of time. They will go back and forth in the cracks of time for a lifetime. They can't be regarded as normal people. What I want to get should not be the time array points, but something else. It's stuck at the time array points. It's not easy to get it." She looked at the piles of bones outside the palace and said, "These people were all killed by the time array points. The major array points were all heaven-defying existences, but they could not be obtained at will. She had devour and rules, but to some extent, she could not use them at will. She had to pay a price, and she usually could not afford to pay the price. It was useless even if she got it. Unless she was forced to. When the Mountain of Law first appeared, if it was not for a spiritual seed, it would not have willingly followed Qiao Jin. It would not have let Qiao Jin take it. But until now, except for asking a few questions. The rules were obviously unwilling to cooperate. It was stuck at the intersection with the Rakshasa world. Who knew how many people had died there? Now, countless people had died at the time array points. How could it be so easy to get it? Are we still going in? Mo Jiang flicked his fingernails. Although I think it's a good thing, I don't think we'll be alive to take it. Just by looking at the corpses on the ground, she could feel the power of many array masters. Among them, there were some who were not weaker than her, but they all died. Mo Jiang did not think that she was the chosen one. As for why the time array point was here, that was the boss's business, so she didn't need to worry about it. Song Yanqing was also deep in thought. It has a similar effect to the time reversal array point you obtained back then. Xiao Jin smiled meaningfully. Time reversal can only allow you to go back to the past and see what happened in the past. The time matrix point allows you to go to the past and the future at will. The difference between the two is like heaven and earth. Similarly, just like the rules, you can't afford to pay the price. Getting it was equivalent to getting nothing. Song Yanqing thought for a moment. What will happen if we go forward? Xiao Jin said, to be honest, I haven't come into contact with the time matrix point, so I don't know. It should send us to the past or the future. If we get stuck in the time node, we may not be able to come back for a lifetime. I think it's very dangerous, so I'll go alone. Since I dare to throw things here, it means that I have some confidence. Song Yanqing held her hand. I'll go with you. Chapter 10-11. Xiao Jin glanced down at his palm. I don't think there's a need to go with me if it's dangerous. Song Yanqing said, if something happens to you, I don't think there's any value in me continuing to exist. Since we have shared memories and experiences in our memories that we've forgotten now, perhaps the time formation points can give us some memories. Besides, I have a vision of the future, which means I won't disappear here. Xiao Jin shook his head and sighed. Things about the 4 formation points won't appear in your visions. Even if you see the future, if you disappear here, you'll disappear. The 4 formation points are above us humans, so naturally, they won't be predicted. Song Yanqing said with a smile, I'll promise you that I won't disappear here. Although he didn't know why, he was sure that the Rakshasa realm wouldn't let him die here so easily. Xiao Jin thought for a moment and nodded. All right. Mo Jiang was a little scared. You're really going? After all, it was a natural formation point. She didn't dare to go against it. Xiao Jin came back to his senses and looked at her and you. If we don't appear in a day, you take you back. Of course, she couldn't let Mo Jiang and you take the risk. The two of them couldn't withstand the time formation points. Yu was a little worried. Brother Song, Sister Qiao, Song Yanqing gave her a comforting smile. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Xiao Jin nodded. It might take some time, but we might not be able to come out. Otherwise, she wouldn't dare to go against the time formation points. Hearing this, Mo Jiang muttered, how bold. But she still nodded. All right, I'll wait for you. She looked at Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing, still a little worried. Hurry up. Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing nodded and the two of them continued forward. The pile of bones was deep, but the deeper they went, the fewer corpses there were. The further they went, the stronger the power emitted from each skeleton. This was a huge main hall. The surrounding pillars had almost all collapsed and broken. Even the palace had collapsed for a long time. Although it was a palace, it wasn't made of pure gold. Instead, it was made of a type of gemstone, a black base. In this darkness, only the black throne seemed to be carved out of the most exquisite gemstones. It exuded a seductive and mysterious light. There was nothing on it, but a pillar that fell in front of it did not damage it in the slightest. It stood there quietly. There was clearly nothing above, but he kept feeling that there was something above. As they got closer, Xiao Jin and Song Yanqing saw some broken images in front of them. It was as if a series of fragmented images were suddenly playing in front of him. They flashed so quickly that he didn't know what was inside. It was so fast that people couldn't see it clearly, and it affected their minds. Xiao Jin noticed that there were almost no bones near the throne. It was as if other than the pile of ruins, no one could get close to the black gemstone throne. She seemed to be able to see the reflection of a face. That face was Song Yanqing's. There was still a smile on his face. He still had the gentle appearance of the years, noble and beautiful, flowing like water. But behind him, there seemed to be a huge black shadow surging behind him and enveloping him. Xiao Jin could clearly feel that he was holding her palm tightly. She moved her fingers, but she couldn't feel anything anymore. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.